this makes sense!
Who's here first? Josh Howard. Yes, you are a faithful and loyal servant. Satan over there, when he thinks of Josh Howard, he smiles. Well done, good and faithful servant. 10,000 pine points to you. My buddy Phil, second. Satan likes you a little less, but still a lot. 5,000 pine points to you. And Lucas, is that right? Myron, is that right? Lucas, how do you pronounce it? Craigle? Craigle. Sounds a little bit like that, same spelling as that Cliff Kneckley. No, it's a different spelling. Much different. But yeah, that 1,000 pine points to you. Satan just likes you a little bit. And the ginger beard man, Satan hates you. You must be a Christian, the ginger beard man. That's why you were here as the biggest loser, is my guess. But stay if you want, but know that nobody will pay attention to you for being here in fourth place. My dopamine level is sky high because I watched this video right here this morning. It was like hot off the press. Only has 757 views. And I'm going to try my hardest to convince people who are Roman Catholic to leave the church. Yes. My goal here is to pull you away from Catholicism, because I'm going to give a practical example of the cruelty, the danger, the terribleness of it all. But first I want to talk about, I got to watch the interview with Habermas yesterday, watch myself back. And I was pleasantly surprised because I thought the frustration I was feeling was coming through, but I kind of hit it pretty well. You could tell a little bit near the end, but so I was happy with that. And as I posted late last night, I predicted exactly what would happen, and I'm a true prophet. Actually, if I'm under the power of the evil one, Satan's the true prophet. I'm just his messenger of the messenger. But yeah, he started the live stream saying, please don't bloviate, please just answer the questions asked of you, don't sound like a politician. And then when I get to the flying man and I set it up again, I don't want to hear why you believe it or don't believe it. I just want to hear, do you believe it or not believe it? And I predicted he'd say, but, and throw in 1,000 things in addition. And that's exactly what he did. Bye, minimal facts. You notice the minimal facts, he didn't ask things like, well, do critical scholars say that they all believe this? I mean, it was like, is the flying man into magic like my Jesus was? Oh my goodness. And now I got some complaints from atheists saying that I could have handled that whole interview better, that I shouldn't have come out of the gate and compared apologists to politicians. I should have only, very kindly and graciously said, can you please with cherries on top, not answer each question too long, because I have a lot of questions and I thought I was going to get an hour, but I only got like 30 minutes, 25 minutes. Please. Some atheists were saying that's the way I should have handled it. Can I remind you, atheists, of something? Gary Habermas is a PhD in the field of theology and philosophy and history, whatever you want to say. We're talking about the area of his expertise. He holds himself out to the public as someone knowledgeable about these things. And I'm a farm boy from Manitoba, and you're telling me to be easy on him? Douche, 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 you atheists. If anything, Gary Habermas should have, come down to my level. I said, Doug, yeah, why don't you tell me what's really bothering you? I'll answer your questions. I'll do whatever I can to help you, Doug, if that means short answer. Yeah, I'm more than happy. Like, he could have done stuff like that. I mean, come on. Oh, and Myron, when you layer in screens, my video has to be in front, right, Myron? You know that. So I tell you, Myron gets paid $7 an hour, and he's $6 an hour overpaid. Yeah, I know you can hear me. Silliness. That's the first time in 2 years you've seen me get angry? I wasn't, brother. Now I am angry. Yesterday I wasn't angry, but that comment makes me angry. I wasn't angry at all. I was frustrated a little bit because it frustrates me when I'm right all the time. You should not have let Gary control the discussion. Other than that, you did fantastic. Well, that's why I very gently at times kind of had to move forwards towards the camera and say stuff, Sydney. But I tell you, if you rewatch this, Christians, if you're here, I doubt if you're here, but if you are here, make sure you're over 18. And if you're under 18, ask your parents if it's okay to watch the PineCreek channel. Let them know what you're doing. In fact, you should be in school. Although most Christians are homeschooled nowadays, right? Because of COVID and that sort of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of under 18-year-old Christians listening. Be very careful because I'm dangerous. Tell your parents. If you're just a farm boy, then Satan looks like Liz Hurley. That's true. Satan does look like Elizabeth Hurley. And okay, just between you and me, I seriously looked into hiring Elizabeth Hurley to come in and play the role of Satan. I'm thinking of starting a GoFundMe. How many people would love to see Elizabeth Hurley sit in the chair that I have reserved for Jesus? Instead, it'll be Satan, Lucy. But you're not going to guess how much that's going to cost. If there's a billionaire listening, all I need is $70,000 US. Send it to me, and I will try to get Elizabeth Hurley here, and me and Satan will have a talk. No, there's not going to be nudity, but we're going to talk about something really dirty, icky, slimy, hairy. We're going to talk about coitus. Well, Chris Moore, of course he was dancing around my questions, because if an apologist answers my questions directly without answering questions that were not asked, their religion starts to look bad. And I'm also going to ask if there are any Christians who saw that interview yesterday. Because I made the claim, I think I made the claim that some Christians agree with me here. I want to hear from you to provide evidence that I wasn't lying. That a lot of Christians don't like the minimal facts argument because you can explain those minimal facts naturalistically. Now, the Christians like Habermas says, no, you can't. Yeah, we can. And every time we do, you start bringing up other facts like martyrdom. Instead of the willingness to die, no, they actually martyred, which is not a minimal fact. Oh, yes, Christian thinker, thank you for being here. We were going to talk about IVF. Now, let's move on to that. IVF it stands for in vitro fertilization. It's something I at least used to know quite a bit about because my two beautiful children, who are mocha in color, caramel in appearance, and rich in love and compassion and smart, and they are the best kids in the world. And they're both products of in vitro fertilization. In other words, they were conceived in a test tube, in a petri dish. These two here believe that's bad. I believe it's good. In fact, when it comes to the Roman Catholic Church on the topic of coitus and reproduction, if you do the exact opposite of what they say, the world becomes a better place. Do the exact opposite of what your church teaches, and the world will become a better place. Now, I'm going to say something extremely controversial. Some atheists are going to cringe. You guys ready? Put your seatbelts on. If every baby born of in vitro fertilization, if every baby born on planet Earth was due to the process of in vitro fertilization, crime rates and poverty would be cut at least by half. I'm going to claim that it'd be at least 50% less crime and 50% less poverty. Because what in vitro fertilization, that process does, it forces reproduction to take planning, years of saving money, years of pain, sweat, toil. It requires that you really, really, really want a child. And I tell you, that is fabulous for children when they know that they are the product of something that took so much effort and dedication and time, not just shacking up or getting conceived in the back of a Camaro, backseat of a Camaro, which so often happens, right? The thing is, I know with a capital K that Christians agree with me. They agree with me. Yeah, Doug's probably right. Crime would go down 50% on those, sure. But yeah, Doug's right. Poverty would go down. But it's racist. You know, that's the common thing, common retort. And we have a right to reproduce. Which could be true. But that still doesn't negate what I said. So do the opposite of what the Catholic Church teaches. Okay, let's take a listen, and I'll explain further what I mean by that. And I want to show compassion here too. My compassion is stems from true empathy because I've done it. I've been there. When my wife and I went through in vitro fertilization, we were both Christians at the time. My son is turning 16, and I think I left Christianity. Well, I was in the process of leaving Christianity when he was born, but I think I would still have called myself a Christian. So I'm trying to be compassionate to Christians here because I know that there's going to be at least one Christian who will watch this, who they and their spouse are thinking about doing this process of IVF and are feeling guilt and shame from some other Christians that they shouldn't do it. And I'm here to say, do it. If you can afford it, if you have the means, even if you don't, you can probably get someone to help you. Do it. And don't worry about what your church says. And this is controversial too, but I know you're going to cringe when I say this, Christians, but don't even worry what God thinks. What's the punishment for doing IVF if God doesn't like it? What's the punishment? Let me give you a hint. There is none. All you're going to do is make Yahweh sad. And let me tell you, Yahweh doesn't get sad. He's bigger than that. If your God's real, I tell you, you can't hurt his feelings. If you look in the dictionary under the phrase thick skin, you'll see a picture of Yahweh. He has a thick skin. So he might say, yeah, I'm really not for this IVF thing, but I understand you really want to have kids. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you, my one black friend. Hello, everyone. PineCreek, you froze their video at a moment that makes me wonder what they're doing off camera. I know, I didn't mean to do that. It always happens this way. But anyhow, here we go.
List of alternative speakers I recommend. Of course, you're on that list. And I recently said to a group, Trent is basically a female version of me.
Well, that's very, very nice to hear. I do notice, when we analyze issues, we often get the same ethical conclusion.
The benefit of IVF, Rai-Rez, for those of you who don't know, is for many people who are infertile, either with the man, your boys don't swim very well. And then with the women, you either have, what do you call it when you got the benign growths in the uterus and by the fallopian tubes? Oh, my wife had like 2 surgeries to get rid of it. Someone help me. What do you call that when you get the benign stuff in your uterus, in your womb? Anyhow, it just makes it next to impossible for the sperm to reach the egg. if your boys can't swim.
And get there through the same pathways of reasoning. It's fun. That's why eventually, and by the way, congrats on the new baby. I love it. Are you getting sleep?
Not really. Violet is like we've been hit by a truck. Like, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. But of course, joyful.
It's IVF is not immoral, Josh. In fact, I encourage everyone to do it. And even if it is immoral from God's eyes, so what? Do it in hell. Yeah, it is cis. But there's another name. What is fibroids? Ben Diesel, 1,000 Pine Points to you. I think you're the first one to say fibroids. My wife had fibroids.
And delightful at the same time, but yeah, but it's really transformative.
Right. And so this is a good segue to what I want to talk about, because I think a lot of people, a lot of Catholics have a hard time explaining why in vitro fertilization is wrong. Because look what we're talking about. Having a baby is a good thing. Now look how it's benefited you, it's benefited me. What could be wrong with a technology that allows people to have children? Because I think for a lot of people, like when we talk about abortion, a lot of people say, oh, okay, I get that. That's not.
Yes, endometriosis is also correct. Anna Benarama. That, yeah, my wife had that. So 1,000 Pine Points to you.
Not that hard to argue. Here's a baby. They're wonderful. Abortion kills.
I think it's the same. So the technical name for fibroids, maybe? Or are they different?
Kills this baby. How could this be right? I think a lot of people, they can wrap their heads around that. And for Catholics.
But when I had my sperm analyzed, like seriously, I try to remember the numbers. There was like it was like single digit % of my boys could swim well. And the rest of them were like kind of dead in the water. And my theory is because before I got married, I did a lot of lab work with heavy metals in the when I was getting my chemistry degrees. Just a working theory. So I worked with lead, mercury, cadmium, what else? And, you know, as careful as you can be, you're going to get some of that stuff in your skin. And that wreaks havoc on the boys downstairs.
I mean, they'll tell me, oh, don't worry, I know how to argue about abortion. But when IVF comes along, it becomes a lot more difficult to explain why it's wrong. And I think some people will try to take a shortcut here. And they'll say, well, IVF is wrong because in the process, a lot of embryos are destroyed. Which is true sometimes, but that may not be true all the time. And that doesn't give us a principled argument against IVF.
Yeah, I was actually a little surprised because they didn't really go into the it's wrong because extra embryos are destroyed. Here's a true story. When we did it, we told the doctor, because we were both Christians, we told the doctor to only fertilize 3 eggs and we would implant all 3. And then we would let the Lord decide which ones to keep, if any. Okay? So we did the good Christian thing. But get this, the doctor fertilized all my wife's eggs. It was for when we did it for my son, which totaled 13. Can you imagine the pain and suffering we went through when we heard that? Because you can't implant all 13 in a woman and not expect bad things to happen. Now, at that time, looking back, I would have paid lip service, and Trent Horn would have been so proud of me. I would have paid lip service that, yeah, this is a human life, and it's a sin to destroy them. But how do I say this? It didn't really feel wrong. My moral intuition said, okay, if it is indeed wrong, it's not that bad, because let's be honest with each other. Throwing those embryos down the sink will lead to their paradise, their royal buffet in heaven. And maybe God will give me a slap on the wrist. Bad, Doug. Well, it actually wasn't my fault. Bad, doctor. But, like, really, what's the harm done there? But I would have paid lip service. Yeah, it was a sin.
Yeah. So why don't I've set you up with that? Maybe you can take us into the book and your thoughts about how to explain the wrongness of it and what angle we need to take at it.
Yeah, great, great, great. So I think for people to say, I just don't understand what could be wrong, as you said, to use your phrase, which is what many people would use, to use a technology to have a baby. Well, what's wrong is the use of the term technology. And the reality is, at the core of this issue, we need to remember human beings are subjects, not objects. Objects are to be used, they are to be manufactured, they are to be at some point disposed of. They can be replaced. Subjects,
A lot of that applies to subjects. Maybe not the manufactured thing, well, depending on your definition. But humans are used all the time. It's called being an employee. But, you know, you get something for it in the end.
are very different from objects. We're not to be manufactured. We're not to be used. We're not to be disposed of. We're not to be replaced. And so the problem at the core with IVF is it manufactures into existence another human person.
What? IVF manufactures into existence a human? We have solved abiogenesis. It's done. We don't need God to create human life. Because it seems like IVF manufactures life, humans into existence on our own. Technology has done it. You see how even from the Christian world, you see how absolutely stupid this is? This is stupid with two O's. What movie is that from? Oh, Knives Out. You know, the, what's his name? The guy who plays Captain America. He makes that comment. This is stupid with two O's. The only difference between IVF and the God-given way is location. One happens in the womb, one happens outside the womb. That's all. But she's making it sound like, okay, the doctor's like taking their little electrodes. Okay, let's make some DNA here. I mean, am I wrong? Yeah, Chris Evans, that's his name. He's hilarious. He's actually a good actor.
A subject and not an object.
He's not just a pretty boy.
And because we aren't objects, we shouldn't come to be the way objects do.
Okay, and I'm going to even push back against this idea of objectifying humans, that's wrong. Now, I'm not saying that it's always right or always wrong. It's definitely not always wrong. I believe that it's completely harmless at times. For example, what's the difference? You got two photographs. A photograph of a mountain range, an object, and a photograph of Elizabeth Hurley in her prime. She actually still looks good now. It's a picture. Let's say you don't know anything about Elizabeth Hurley, but you can objectify her, look at her face, her hair, her lips, her eyes, her valleys, her curves, just like the valleys and peaks on a mountain. And you can say, I almost spoke German. Sehr gut. Like, I mean, right? And I'd say there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I also have a thought experiment. I used to say it a long time ago. So if I was to ask Trent and this lady, Stephanie, you're sitting on a park bench. Trent, I'm sitting on a park bench. And off the distance, I see this gorgeous, beautiful woman to start walking towards me. And I start objectifying her in my mind. I mean, I have no idea about this woman's life or her personality type, her intelligence. I know nothing about that. I'm just saying, whoa, look at those legs, look at the hair. And in my mind, I'm objectifying her. Now, the question I would propose to Trent is that wrong? And I think Trent would say, yes, you shouldn't do that. I can even say I'm lusting over her. And he would say, oh yeah, that's definitely wrong, Doug. Okay, let's keep the thought experiment going. As this woman's walking closer and closer and closer, I keep objectifying her, but this woman is not making eye contact with me. She doesn't even know I exist. Okay? Have I harmed her? Have I harmed her? I'm objectifying her, but have I harmed her? I think Trent would struggle more with this question, but he would say, no. Okay, but now, here's the kicker. She walks closer and closer, and I look closely and I notice she's not a woman. She's a robot. You can actually see some wires hanging out of her back, and it's obvious. She's a robot. You notice how it went from, I think in Trent Horn's mind, it went from bad, 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 bad to, oh, it's a robot. It is an object. Fine, 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 fine. Although even then, like, you might say because of the lust part, it's still sin to lust over an object. Like, although, yeah. But yeah, robots is a whole new deal. So I do not think to objectify a person is always wrong. Because the thing is, this doesn't compute to Christians because their standard morality is what daddy says. No, sorry, that's a straw man. It's what flows out of daddy's nature, right? That's their standard. My standard is well-being, unnecessary suffering. So if you're not hurting people, if you're not decreasing their well-being or increasing their suffering, which in this thought experiment I'm not, then by my standard, nothing wrong has happened.
It enlists a third party outside of the marital couple, the couple who are in a marital embrace. Mm-hmm. It enlists a third party to create offspring that they should receive through.
So when you elicit a third party to create offspring, that makes it wrong? I'll keep listening.
Through sexual intimacy, rather than be forced into existence, to use the title of my book, by science, conceived.
Forced into existence by science. You do realize, Stephanie, that not every time you take a sperm and put it next to an egg, that they don't always attach and cause an embryo? That's still in the hands of God.
Conceived by science. So there's a lot to unpack, which this podcast will. And what you've touched on is, yes, it can be easy to take that simple argument, look, IVF kills a whole bunch of human beings. It endangers some human beings, even if it doesn't kill them. Therefore, it's wrong. And I address that. And I think that's a valid point to make. But we need to remember, as I point out in my book, that doesn't address the whole way of thinking someone may have on this issue. And that's why I start early on in the book with that point. But I really lead into the third part, which gets to the foundational issue of, wait, how ought human beings come into existence? Because even if you could narrow IVF down to only being with the husband and wife and only being a couple sperm and a couple eggs and only being immediate implantation and not freezing of any embryos, it's that manufacturing element, the use of technology on a subject, right, that is the issue.
The use of technology on a subject is the issue. First thing that pops in my mind is premature babies putting into incubators. You know, God designed babies to be near the bosom of their mother. Didn't design babies to be stuck in a box with tubes everywhere. We're using technology on a person. Sin. Catholics, you need to go to every hospital and say, get those babies out of the incubators. That's not God's design. God's design was that infants should be held in the arms of the mother and suckling at the breast. Can I get an amen? What Stephanie is saying here is that the way humans should come into existence is through intercourse. A penis needs to be put into a vagina, ejaculate, and the sperm needs to flow up into the fallopian tubes, connect with the egg, and then God decides whether that fertilization is good or not, and God decides whether that embryo will attach to the uterus and grow. That's what Stephanie's saying. That's God's design. And she's saying anything outside that, what God has designed, the way it should be, is, I don't think she used the word sin, but I think she's saying that's wrong, which is the same saying sin. And I some people in the live stream chat are saying what I'm thinking. Okay, so if you're a Christian and you are thinking of getting in vitro fertilization, and you're approached by people like Trent and Stephanie saying this is wrong, just say, I'm going to do what Jesus did. Jesus was conceived without intercourse, so we're going to conceive without intercourse. If it's good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for me and my husband or my wife. Boom. Done. Mic drop. Oh, but that's, Doug, stop it. That's a special case. You can't compare. No.
Yeah, because I've brought this up before. Sometimes when I talk with people who have a hard time wrapping their head around something more abstract, like we shouldn't objectify people, that I'll make another pragmatic argument that I'll say, well, look, the only examples you're bringing up are an infertile, loving married couple who just desperately wants children. But if we say it's okay to create children in a laboratory from other people's gametes, sperm and egg, why can't a single person order a child like in a catalog? I'm going to order the egg. I'm going to order the sperm. I want this child.
This is the slippery slope argument. Well, if we allow this, pretty soon we'll be selling people.
Child gestated in somebody else's womb, and once that's all done, drop them off at my house. Under your view, you can't say this is wrong. If this person really wants a child, who are you to say that that's not okay? But a married couple,
who are you to say it's wrong, Trent? Show me in the Bible where it clearly says in vitro fertilization is wrong. See, this is the exact problem with using a 2,000-year-old text to guide your moral compass today. The Bible says nothing about it. The thing is, what their beef is that it's about location, really. The conception should take place inside the woman. That's what they're saying. And to them, location is a big, big deal. I can't say that. But you know what's interesting is this location argument. They would say, hey, if it's wrong to kill baby 3 minutes after it's been born, it should be wrong 3 minutes before it's born. The location shouldn't matter. And if the Lord has foreseen that an embryo will be formed, whether it's formed in the womb or formed in a petri dish, location doesn't matter. It's the Lord's will.
That is okay, because I think when you did the example of somebody who just mail order, and that happens, there is a way you can do that. Now you get donor egg, donor sperm, a surrogate pregnancy, and then the child just be brought to your house, Amazon Prime the next day, basically. Well, 9 months and 1 day later.
9 months, yeah.
And I think people can see there, oh, wow, that is really like they're.
Yeah, and if you get the baby through Amazon Prime and then, it's colicky and it keeps crying, you can return it. What's wrong with this?
The child's being treated no differently than an Amazon package in that case, but it's only removed in degree rather than kind from a married couple that uses, and to make clear everyone understands what we're saying, in vitro fertilization, we're talking about taking sperm out of the man's body, egg out of the...
Yeah, see, that alone, I think for a lot of Catholics is a sin. Because you know how you take the sperm out of the man, right? I've had to do this many times. Had to. You go into the clinic. For those of you who don't know, let me give you a backstage pass. You go into the clinic, and it's, the clinic is very sterile and everything. And then they have bathrooms, but they have a special bathroom for men. It's the masturbation bathroom. And then, so they have the word masturbation bathroom, and then underneath it, sin room, where sin takes place. So, yeah. So if you're a Christian, be prepared for that. You're going to have to enter the sin room. And then they have a nice chair. They have a video screen. They have some very nice pamphlets. And, you know, a Christian like Stephanie, just the thought of that her husband's in that room makes me upset. Yeah. That's the thing, is there's so many completely naive, I'm going to pick on women here, naive women like Stephanie out there who just, oh, my husband would never think that. No, those bad thoughts. The Lord made men to think about women, heterosexual men. He made gay men to think about other men, but I digress. That's the way the Lord made them. The thing is, I want to say a truth right now, but the thing is, if Stephanie ever heard this truth, I might even crush her marriage. Because I really do think Stephanie is so naive to think that, I'll say it, that her husband is only thinking of her when he's having coitus with her. Did I go too far? And this is why masturbation is wrong, because you're thinking it. But I don't know, what's the Catholic view on masturbation if you're only thinking about your spouse? Is it wrong? I think Catholics would say it's still wrong, right? Again, if you're a Christian under the age of 18, please leave. This is far too adultish for you. And if you are just going to stay, make sure your parents know.
The woman's body, fertilizing it in a petri dish or another apparatus in a laboratory, and then placing the embryos that are created, the ones that are screened, back into the woman's uterus. Because I think before we continue on, it's important for us to distinguish, to get out of a misconception. We are not against fertility treatments that are illicit.
Right. And that's one of the points I address in my book.
Yeah, IVF is a fertility treatment. The difference is it doesn't involve intercourse, so therefore it's bad. It has to be this intimate thing that God has designed. I tell you, my wife and I, we went through probably, I don't know, $5,000 to $10,000 worth of fertility treatments that wasn't IVF. And they all amounted to nothing. If you're seriously, infertile, like we were, if there's any Christians listening or even non-Christians, and you're thinking of doing IVF, here's my advice: skip the other the fertility treatments. Well, I should be careful here because sometimes it is something simple. But yeah, I'll just say from our case, it was a complete waste of money. You're better off using that money to get your first IVF procedure. Canadian Catholic,
I object more.
I see that you wanted to come in, but I don't want to talk to you today.
To infertility. I am not objecting to all solutions to infertility. I think there are a number of morally acceptable interventions that a couple could pursue when faced with primary or secondary infertility. And I outline what those are, and I share beautiful success stories. But I don't live in a Pollyanna type atmosphere where that's always going to work. So then what I also address in my book are the sad realities of people who try those alternatives and those don't even work, in order to address the fact that we live in a broken world.
Have you tried prayer? Those Christians who are infertile right now, have you tried prayer? I guarantee you infertile Christians listening right now that IVF will work 1 billion times better than prayer. Billions of times better than prayer. Guarantee it. I guarantee it. So skip the prayer, go straight to IVF.
world. And there are some crosses, there's some sufferings that we can't completely eliminate. But I talk about the difference between the ethical interventions, like, for example, if a woman is not ovulating, a couple who has sex in that situation.
Thank you for the super chat, Engineer Pfizer. Sorry, type what your super chat said, and I'll see. Yeah, it's gone. But I thank you for your super chat. Maybe we should set a GoFundMe account for Roman Catholics who want IVF. Oh. Wouldn't that be interesting if atheists set up a GoFundMe account just for Catholics to get IVF treatment? Oh, that would be sweet. True love.
Situation is not going to conceive because there is never an egg for the sperm to fertilize. So if she's not ovulating, an ethical intervention would be to give her a pharmaceutical, whether it's an injection, whether it's an oral drug that she.
So drugs are okay, but taking an egg out of the woman into a petri dish is not okay.
Takes that would cause her to ovulate, an ovulatory drug, so that when the couple then engages in sex, her body has naturally produced an egg. It increases the likelihood.
See, to them, sex is the issue here. Procreation has to be done only through intercourse. I got a question for Catholics. If there's Catholics listening right now, here's my question. Is it okay to have sex for fun? Is that all right? I mean, purposely not for reproduction. Let's say a woman has had a hysterectomy. Tell me it's okay, right? It's okay. I have a sickening feeling that there's some Catholics out there who would say, no, sex should not be for fun. The primary goal is for reproduction. I have a feeling there's some Catholics out there who would say that.
Of fertilization occurring. In that case, we're not replacing the sexual act. We're aiding the sexual act. And that's the key difference between the interventions that would be ethical.
I bet you there's a lot of Christian Catholics, especially females, who would prefer in vitro fertilization instead of the sexual act. Let's admit it, your husbands have hair growing out of their ears. They got hair on their back. You got to change the sheets when you're done. I mean, coitus is a messy, disgusting, stinky, goopy, icky thing. IVF, though, is it's sterile. The walls are white, very professional. Oh, I tell you, these Catholic women, they're going, PineCreek's making a good point. I don't have to have coitus with my husband. We can do this the clean way. And the Lord loves cleanliness.
Ethical from that which would be unethical, such as in vitro fertilization. We are literally making the sexual act with IVF entirely unnecessary. And that's another kind of foundational point that I make in my book, is that if you look at, and certainly.
Oh, we got our first donation for the IVF fund. Catholic women and men listening, we are on your side. Reject the church teachings, reject Trent Horn, reject Stephanie Gray, and come to the light side. They're the dark side. We're the light side. We will help you. Give me a call. I'll give you advice. No, don't call me. I don't like to be called.
Certainly, there's an element of my book that is oriented towards the religious. I think there's some non-religious claims I make that are compelling for an atheist, but right. I do go down the path of making some religious appeals. And one of them is from a Christian perspective. If you look at how God views human life, we're made in his image, unlike the rest of his creation. And the rest of creation was good, but humans were very good. So we're made in God's image. Well,
we're made in God's image, yeah. Some people are psychopaths.
What does it mean to image God? God is a communion of persons. He's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And so this communion of persons is a God in a relationship of giving and receiving love within the Trinity. And human beings are meant to reflect that. And sexual intimacy is a very particular way that we image the Trinity. It is a total communion of persons, the husband fully giving himself to his wife, the wife fully receiving her husband, and then that giving and receiving producing a whole other human person, an ensouled human being.
Oh my goodness. She's just comparing coitus to the Trinity. The man, the woman, and the child. That's 3. Oh, you see what I did? Uh-oh. I said that's 3. You guys, anybody who's seen Inglourious Bastards knows I'd be dead in that right now. You hold up 3 this way. But anyhow, what if 2 eggs are fertilized there, Stephanie? Is that a symbol of God being a quaternary? Come on.
And the humans are never apart. You know, for fertilization to occur in sexual intimacy, the male and female need to come together. When the child then comes into existence, the baby comes into existence beneath the mother's heart, another communion of persons. IVF is the opposite of that.
Oh, yes. What I said earlier about the incubators, you should take babies out of incubators because they're meant to be just underneath the woman's heart.
You never have to be together. The sperm is taken from the man, not given to his wife. The woman, instead of receiving her husband's sperm, goes to a lab, and the lab retrieves her egg instead of her egg receiving the sperm. Then the child begins his or her life away from the mother, not beneath the mother's heart, but in a cold kind of scientific atmosphere.
Yeah, that embryo is going, man, it's cold in here. Oh, and that doctor was so mean to me. He just shoved me into the test tube. Where's my mama? Come on, grow up, Stephanie.
At the hands of someone who is a total stranger, who doesn't have a kinship to that child. So IVF separates and divides, and sexual intimacy in the creation of life as God designed unites and communes.
IVF separates and divides. Man, there's Christians listening who are infertile, and their only option, it seems, is IVF because prayer doesn't work. And they hear Stephanie say this, and their heart sinks. But don't fret, because Atheist PineCreek is here to help. I encourage you, if Stephanie is right that this is sin, I encourage you to sin against God. Do it. Do it. Sin purposely against God. Do it. Because guess what? Nothing bad's going to happen to you. See, I think Catholics like Stephanie and Trent Horn are like Orthodox Jews in a way from 3,000 years ago. They think, but Doug, if I get IVF, God's going to be mad that I'm purposely sinning, and in my time of need, he won't be there for me. Blessings and cursings, right? I think they have this archaic view in their head.
Yeah, so 2 points here on what you raised. First, I love making that distinction so people to see, look, fertility treatments are fine as long as they follow this particular principle. Does it assist the marital act or does it replace it? So clearly there, if you're dealing with blockage.
You notice they can't even say sex or intercourse or even coitus. We call it the marital act. Say the word sex 10 times. Sex, sex, sex. Just do it. Intercourse, intercourse. Say the words penis, vagina. I don't think... Could Trent Horn say penis on his channel? If you can't say vagina, say regina. Sounds the same.
In the fallopian tube, problems with the vas deferens or sperm production or ovulation. A drug here, it assists the marital act. The marital act still takes place. Does it assist it? Then it's fine, generally speaking. Does it? But if it replaces it, then you're right. Then all of a sudden, that this goes back to your main point. We are subjects, not objects. And children, and I think we can use strong language here, have a right to come into existence through the marital act.
Children have a right to come into existence through the marital act, unless you're Jesus. He was special. He could come into the world without the marital act. Oh, it would have been... I kind of hope that the virgin birth is true, but it was done outside of Mary's womb, and then the Holy Spirit implanted it back in. But even then, like, Christians like Trent, they know, I mean, they believe that Jesus was formed from a non-marital act, unless you're willing to say that the Holy Spirit has a penis. And again, if you're a Christian and if you're starting to like feel a little uncomfortable that I'm saying these words, you need to grow up. But maybe you're only 15 and you're watching. If that's the case, then leave.
Well, it's interesting, and I've actually thought about pulling all these threads together for a future books. I was going to call it something like Human Rights Before Birth, not just pro-life. Because we talk about...
Oh, great point, Lucor. C-sections. What's your stance on C-sections, Stephanie? I have a feeling she might be against that too. I don't know. But I mean, the whole birthing process of like, I'm sure you could come up with some Trinity analogy with the C-section. I mean, with the natural birth. And the C-section is like cutting. You're cutting into the Trinity and you're pulling one part of the Trinity out before it's time. I bet you anything she's against C-sections. I mean, we're looking at Little House on the Prairie here.
About the right to life, but I've thought, well, what other rights do unborn children have? Like, and so we think like their right to life. I think, because you know the violinist argument, right? It's like, oh, they have a right to life, but not a right to use their mother's body. And I always think that's bunk.
Hey, someone just gave me a great idea. He offered to debate him, says Rad Brad. Yeah, you know what? I'm almost willing to do the same thing I did to Habermas to Trent Horn on Josh's channel. Josh, set it up. But I want a full hour at least. And I hope Trent realizes that I'm just a farm kid from Manitoba and he comforts me and is gentle with me.
Because I would say, okay, well, what does it mean for the child to have a right to life? It's only meaningful if they have the right to the one thing that they need to live, you know? So it seems to me that their right to reside in their mother's body is like, that's basically like the only right they have. It's the only thing that they need at that time.
That's a great point.
That's the only thing they need. Just let them be there. That's all they need. They don't need freedom of speech. They don't need due process. That's all they need. So if they have that right, that has an implication not just for abortion, that I would say that the child has a right to reside in his mother's body, like they have a right to not come into existence through fornication.
What? A child has the right to not come into existence through fornication. What does that even mean?
Or adultery. Like, that's crummy to do to a kid.
The Holy Spirit fornicated with Mary. I'll say that again. Was the Holy Spirit married to Mary? Was God married to Mary? Can God get married? No. Jesus was the result. He came to existence through the act of fornication without a penis. I know Christians, they hear this and they're extremely offended, but I'm speaking the truth. I'm speaking the truth according to your worldview. If you can't handle your own worldview truth, then something's wrong with you. This whole man-woman intercourse thing does not apply at all to Jesus. And yet you don't say that's bad. You just have to special plead, that's all.
It's crummy to do to them. And so they have a right to not come into existence that way. They have a right to come into existence then only through the marital act, which would preclude illicit sexual relationships. So it's like when we do Catechism 101, right? The church teaches it's babies and bonding. So, you know, when the marital act, it's got to be open to life. You got to have babies and bonding. So if you have contraception, you have bonding, no babies. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to make another strong claim. When I started this live stream saying, thanks, Nick, for the donation. I'll apply it to poker. When I said earlier in this live stream that if you do the opposite of what the Catholics say when it comes to this topic of reproduction, like do the direct opposite, you're going to help the world. If you follow them, you're going to hurt the world. Imagine a world where every baby born is through the process of in vitro fertilization, something that they say is bad. And also imagine a world where people who don't want to have babies use contraception. Imagine that world. Now imagine what the Catholics want. No in vitro fertilization and no contraception. Children born in poverty. Children born with parents. These real life situations. Parents who don't want them. I tell you, I am telling you the truth. Do the opposite of what the Roman Catholic Church teaches, and you'll make the world a better place. How many deaths and sufferings have occurred in places around the world where people believe, oh, if I put this little rubber thing on the tip of my penis, I've now sinned against God. My goodness. Catholics who are listening to this, who are resonating with me right now, I'm not asking you to leave the Catholic Church. I want you to stay in the Catholic Church, and I want you to plant these devilish seeds into the minds of your fellow Catholic brothers and sisters. Don't leave the church. Stay in there, and start in your Sunday school groups and your meetings during the week. Start saying the things I'm saying here, but do it in your, Catholic way. Start changing the minds of your friends. Start having like a regurgitative reflex to what these people are saying. And you'll make the world a better place. Michael Jackson just popped in my head. Oh, that's a bad example.
If you use contraceptives, you use IVF, you have babies, but no bonding. You don't have the intimacy there. So I think that you put it all together. It's like, oh, they have a right to be the fruit of the marital act, and it would put all of this into place. Now, the question I want to ask you is, I think some people will throw people a sucker punch here for them to be ready for. And that'd be people when you say IVF is wrong, there are many, many people who have come into existence through IVF.
Right.
And they'll say, oh, so you're saying I shouldn't exist. And suddenly it's like the dun-dun. And it's like,
yes.
It's like you got to be ready for.
Yeah, that's a great question that Trent's bringing up. Because with abortion, and if you say, if someone is pro-abortion and says, well, my mother would have aborted me, but if she would have listened to you, so you're saying I shouldn't exist? That's fine if you're pro-life, like with these two. But when it comes to IVF, how do you combat that?
I don't mean to say they're sucker punching you, but it's an emotional retort that if you're not ready for, it can feel like you've been sucker punched. How's the best way to address that?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. And I addressed that early in my book, precisely because.
You know what? Scheiser just came up with a solution for Roman Catholics. Do the IVF treatment, Christians. But if you think it's a sin, don't worry. You have coitus right after the implantation of those embryos. And then if you get pregnant, it wasn't, you don't know. It probably was the way God intended through intercourse. And that IVF procedure was completely useless, that there was no life created. No baby was created. You can just say the natural way actually worked. Excellent suggestion, Scheiser. He has built a bridge between people like me and people like them to make everyone happy. You can say, oh, I just did the IVF treatment to help stimulate the economy. Yeah, you can say that. We think it's wrong, and we actually don't think it's going to work. So, yeah, just to stimulate the economy. Great suggestion.
I've experienced in my public speaking career when I've spoken on abortion and people during Q&A raised the question of in vitro fertilization and its ethics, they sometimes preface their question with, I was conceived by IVF.
Right.
Are you saying that's wrong? Knowing that if I do declare IVF is wrong, I'm essentially saying you shouldn't exist,
right.
Without coming across that bluntly. And so I think, as with the abortion debate, when it comes to IVF, we need to have a great sensitivity and a compassion.
Whoa. Okay, this is where would you say that to fornicators? So someone in your church says, yeah, I had a one-night stand last night. Do you have the same attitude? We need to be sensitive and compassionate to those fornicators. I have a feeling you don't have that same, at least, level of compassion and sensitivity. You would say, why did you do that? That's wrong. That's sin. You're hurting God. No, you be consistent, Stephanie. You tell these married couples who have tried to have kids and they failed and they finally do IVF, you tell them, you look them in the eye and say, I believe you're a sinner here. You sinned against God. Shame on you. You'd say shame on you with the fornicator, wouldn't you? Or at least not hide the fact that they're sinning. You tell those IVF Catholics, you have sinned in the eyes of God. Repent. And if you don't do that, Stephanie, I question you really believe what you're saying right now. I really don't think you think it's a sin.
For the emotions and the personal experiences that are involved. And so what we want to be able to explain to an individual or to an audience is that there is a difference between criticizing ethically or morally a certain behavior and criticizing an individual. And especially, again, when we come from a faith perspective, we realize, as we're told in Revelation, behold, I make all things new. God makes all things new. God is so powerful that he can take our sins, he can take our mistakes and draw good out of them.
God is so powerful, he can make good out of bad decisions, but he's not that powerful to answer the prayers of sincere, loving Christian parents who just want to be a parent so they can conceive. IVF works here. Let's see if I get the stats straight. If you put in 3 embryos, I think you have like a 17% chance of conception. No, is it 17% per embryo? Yeah. So if you put in 3, you're basically flipping a coin. 50% chance that you'll conceive. Christians listening, how good is prayer, the results of prayer? Can it get close to a coin flip when it comes to like praying for a child? This, I know, bothers Christians because they know I'm right here again. Human technology is far more reliable than God. Doesn't God want image bearers to be produced? Doesn't God want? No, I'm sure sometimes they would say, sometimes no, God doesn't want it. He wants some people to be barren for morally sufficient reasons. But in general, God wants married people to have kids. Christian married people to have kids, yes. I bet you God doesn't even come close to the 50% success rate of IVF. Not even 0.5% maybe.
And so what I say to people who question their own worth or goodness if they were conceived by IVF is to address what you said a few moments ago, which is, what if someone is created through fornication? And one of the things I talk about in my book is, there's really 4 ways someone could come into existence. The first way is the ideal way, love, in a permanent relationship of marriage between a husband and wife, whether that's the honeymoon or sometime after. But not everyone comes into existence that way. Some people come into existence through lust, whether it's a hookup, one-night stand, or...
Stephanie, the naivete of Stephanie is so... like, in her mind, like, this is God's picture of how marriage is and how love is. She has a Disney princess view of biblical marriage. I tell you, if I wish I had a time machine, because I bet if I had a time machine and me and Stephanie went back to Old Testament days and she saw how marriages worked back then, her Disney attitude about marriage would be crushed. And I'm not just talking about, I'm saying women were property, and this whole idea of love, of a husband loving his wife. Now, sure, it can happen, but women were property to get sons.
Even people who've been dating for a while, but they've not made the commitment of marriage. The third way someone could come into existence is violence, such as rape, incest. And then the fourth way someone could come into existence is through technology. If we look at all four of those ways, not just IVF versus marital love, if we look at all four of those ways, they're not all equal. As wrong as we would say having sex outside of marriage is, in a hookup or in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, worse than that, it would be rape. Obviously, a violent act inflicted upon one party, that would be more wrong, we could say. But the child conceived from rape, a friend of yours and mine, Ryan Baumberger, who's with the Radiance Foundation, he came into existence that way. Right. The person who comes into existence is still valuable. They're of dignity. They are unrepeatable, irreplaceable, and they are the good that God brings from the evil. God doesn't make the evil good. He just says, well, you're going to commit evil.
Yeah, Kate, she called fornication or no rape evil. Has she actually said that IVF is evil yet? So, Stephanie, if you ever watch this, direct question, is IVF as evil as rape? Oh. How do you guys think she would answer that? She cannot answer yes to that, can she? I can't conceive a normal human being saying IVF is as evil as rape. Could Stephanie actually say that IVF is less wrong than rape? Like, is she willing to go there and saying that some sins are less wrong than others in the eyes of God? I don't know if I can watch any more of this. It's so depressing. How can I sum this up? I want to sum it up in a way that, but I know if I do, it's just going to anger Christians. But maybe not. Here's my summing up. Catholic Christians listening right now who are thinking about IVF, do it. And if it's a sin, so be it. And if a person like Trent Horn or Stephanie Gray come up to you and like chastise you in any way, use the line, well, Satan came in the world. I'm not Satan. Jesus came in the world without intercourse. So our children will too. What would Jesus do? How did Jesus come into existence? Physically, bodily, as a human. Use that line. And if that's not a sufficient mic drop for them, then just say, I don't care. Even go strong. Say, I don't care what God thinks here. And if he wants to kill me, so be it. If he wants to send me to hell, so be it. But he won't, because you've been washed with the blood of Jesus. Right? But Christians are just so. There's two emotions: fear and love. They have so much fear and so much love for Jesus, for God, that what I just said, they are shivering in the boots if they're still listening. They're literally shivering in their boots. How can a guy just be so blatantly saying, rebel against God? Well, I work for Satan, don't you know? But I guarantee that children do give you hope, meaning, and purpose, which they would agree with. And that IVF will work better than prayer, which I bet Christians agree with. And sure, being a parent is hard, but it's rewarding. So don't let people like this stop you. And on the flip side, if you don't want kids, don't let people like this and the Catholic Church tell you not to use contraception. You just say, I'm rebelling. And I don't care what you think. Be a maverick. Be a rebel. And if you truly believe God's going to put you in hell or not bring you to heaven because you wore a rubber thing on your thingy, what kind of God do you serve? A horrible one. Thomas Paine.
What's up?
You know who you look like?
Matt Damon?
No. Let me get you in here. You look like an actor who is now dead. What's his name? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue, but it doesn't matter. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Are you
yes,
Catholic?
I'm that actor. I've been reincarnated. So, you're welcome.
I hope you're a Catholic.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I'm not. I'm an atheist, actually.
Oh, okay. What did you want to say quickly?
In regards to past videos with Capturing Christianity and Trent Horn, and maybe even Gary Habermas, but what other belief that people hold on to in the world besides religion do they require philosophy only to hold on to those beliefs to be true?
Well, I'd say, yeah, I don't think any Christian would say it's philosophy only, but it's a good question. Like, there's very few practical beliefs, boots on the ground, rubber to the road, that are actively held that require philosophy. But it seems religion is one of those things, like God's existence. Yeah.
So the problem I have with that is that.
Oh, Philip Seymour Hoffman. That's who you look like. Costa Kim Productions is right. Yeah.
Thank you, because he was kind of fat, but I appreciate it.
It's the hair and the glasses.
I'm getting there, I guess. I don't know. But I guess I have a hard time understanding the disconnect between they can't see that that's the case. That
no, they admit it.
Strong, but if you listen to most apologetics, they go into metaphysics and philosophy and logical argument and syllogisms, and that's it. But we don't use that standard for any other real truth in the world.
Oh, real truth? See, they're going to take what you're saying. They're going to say, well, what's real truth, Thomas Paine?
Gravity. Like, for instance, gravity.
Yeah. I think you're talking about like empirical truths. But yeah, they would admit that, but they would say it's because of philosophy that you need philosophy to talk about the immaterial. And the immaterial exists, Thomas, whether you like it or not. And the only way, or one of the best ways to get to the immaterial proofs is to talk about things like abstract objects and thoughts and God. And, we got all these arguments and yeah.
What would be an immaterial truth that is used? That
the soul exists and we have free will and that we have thoughts. Thoughts? How heavy is a thought, Thomas? Have you ever weighed a thought?
No, but I can tell you how to stop one.
Yeah. Crush the brain?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And then, but for instance, even the soul, like the soul comes into the physical world. It interacts with the physical world, but it's immaterial at the same time. So it doesn't fly. It always loses one step. But that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, well, Thomas, I agree with you. But I know exactly how they would respond to you, and it would probably end up being a terrible conversation if you talk to a Christian about this.
But good job in inviting on that Rebecca girl. I need more Christians on like that.
Oh, you like her?
I like when super liberal Christians come on your channel.
Oh, well, I don't know if the term liberal would apply to her, because she's probably very conservative in a lot of things. But yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. She desperately wants to be my friend.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't though?
Yeah, right. Who doesn't?
Even I'm pretty sure. Let me look. Yes, Philip Seymour Hoffman wanted to be your friend too.
And Trent Horn.
Yeah.
Okay, take care, Thomas.
All right, man. Take it easy.
If you play poker, come join us.
All right. Thanks.
Christians, you're welcome to hop on. I know there's a lot of Christians who wanted, at least a couple who wanted to talk to me about the Habermas thing. You're welcome to do that today. And if there's Christians who want to talk about penises and vaginas, you can do that too. See, Thomas made a huge mistake talking about this while Danny is in the live stream chat. See, Danny is excited right now. Danny has had a dopamine rush. You're playing baseball in his field. Danny, just let it go. Danny, if you have a beer in the fridge, go ahead and drink it now. Is there anybody here who's willing to admit they're a Christian listening? I'd love to know that. And I would love to hear from a Christian who has had IVF or is the product of IVF. If there's Catholics here, don't be scared. I'll treat you even better than the way I treated Gary Habermas. I'm picturing Danny as a little baby. Feed me more philosophy. There, take that. Trent made a community post about you saying he'll debate you formally if you're interested. Yes, Modern Club. I know what you're talking about. He was like, he wanted to do it with one of his friends, I think. But I think debates, I don't like debates, but I'll talk to him. And if he wants to talk to me on, I'll even do it on Josh's channel. Josh, set it up. I prefer Nathan's channel, though. Nathan, are you still here? Digital Gnosis? I don't think I think he would only do it if it's on a Catholic person's channel. Sample Pack, I got a beef with you.
Yeah, I came on to talk about it.
Okay, good. Let's clear this up. You know what my beef is, right?
Well, you said early in the conversation, I forget exactly what you said, but you said something about how I was upset at you for you heading him off the path like too early and talking about politics.
Right. And your reason for saying that was because it maybe got his defenses up.
No, I was trying to say that I just thought you did it a little bit too early. Like I wanted you to say that as soon as he did some bloviating.
No, but why is it bad to do it too early?
Oh yeah, I guess because he got his defenses up. And
yeah,
it was that, but it also I was worried that it set the tone for the Christians watching. That like had you waited just like a minute.
No, but
before you did it.
You know how I got past that though, right? I resonated with the Christians listening because they probably agree with me that they don't like their pastors, their preachers, their apologists avoiding tough questions, bloviating. They want straight answers.
I totally agree, but I just think that you should have called it out when it happened instead of.
Yeah, but that's because you're too soft-hearted, Sample Pack. You're too compassionate. See, I'm a tough love type of guy. You're a soft love type of guy, and both are needed in the world. I'm not saying you're bad and I'm good. I used to have that ringtone, and then I grew up. Sorry, that was rude.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, Gary Habermas is a PhD in philosophy and theology and history. Maybe not history, but he calls himself a historian, and he holds himself out in the public as this is what I do. And you're worried about a schmuck like me making him feel defensive. Like,
oh no, not at all.
No?
Actually, I just think that you would have gotten more out of him had you not made him defensive. That's what I was going for.
No, I don't think so, because I have so much evidence that says whether you're nice to him, like on Capturing Christianity's channel, where Cameron is like suckling at his teat,
right?
Or an atheist, if you're nice to him, I don't want to get more out of him. I want to get less out of him, but more precise.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like more like of what you wanted.
Well, which is answering the question.
Right. And so I thought, because I don't know, I think it's hard for them to kind of connect the points that like you're talking about him bloviating, and then a couple minutes later, then he starts to bloviate. I think some of these people, it's hard for them to connect these two ideas.
Yeah.
And so if you do it right in the moment, maybe you can be like, hey, wait, I have a lot of questions. You're talking too long. Let me get to the next one.
And the thing is, even if I'm in the wrong in the way I did things, there's one undeniable fact that if Christians are watching, he lost it and I didn't.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I think that some of them have blinders on that are so strong that it's Habermas. It's like, oh, like as soon as Joshua came in, Canadian Catholic, he's like, oh, you got wrecked or something like that, and it's like, well, that is the perspective that I think a lot of them kind of just they don't see.
Yeah, it's Josh,
I know, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I had one question for you. Is did Mary consent to the conception?
No, it was. Well, we have no record of it. That's an argument from silence, though. Sometimes,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like I just wonder if God like asked her beforehand, because I feel like if that conversation happened, then maybe she should have like talked to her husband and like informed him beforehand. So,
yeah.
Like,
no, that's one of the first things I thought of when I heard this Stephanie person talk. Like, life should be brought into the world only this way. Well, except for Jesus.
It's just so it's so gross. They're just obsession with sex, and they just want this exact thing, and it's like,
well, but I want to steel man them, and like the Disney princess view of love can be nice and very good.
Yeah, I mean, like living in utopia sounds great, but
yeah.
That's exactly it. It's just this fantasy.
Like if I had my way, I would want committed people raising children who want those children. I think everybody wants that, and so part of me, I understand this desire they have, but the thing is, they're not making sense. That like, what is it about a penis entering a vagina that makes it okay, and then just taking what the penis gives and what the uterus gives, putting it outside the body? How does location make a difference?
Yeah, what's the word for it? Not plebeian, but some kind of like it begins with the L, where you're kind of anti-technology. I'm blanking on it right now.
From Louisiana?
Could be. Yeah. Anyways, it just feels like they're very focused on the natural way and that sort of thing, and God's way is the natural way. But it was also weird to encourage the use of drugs to get things moving too.
That's interesting, isn't it?
And like, I wonder if the drugs were used like done by a needle, would that be okay for them? Like, where is the actual line there?
The line is the penis has to go in the vagina, and it has to be like with love, with no less.
What if you like put the petri dish on the tip of the condom or something, or does that work?
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think of scenarios too. Like, let's say a loving Catholic couple, but the husband doesn't quite insert the penis, but shoots semen, and it gets into the vagina and ends up conceiving. Like, that's technically outside of what she would.
Scenario, right?
Yeah. Like, is that now a sin? Like,
yeah. It's
so Luddite is the word you're thinking of.
Yeah, Luddite. Yeah, that's it.
I used to think I didn't have a lot of smart people in my live stream chat, but there's just some smart people in there. Luddite, they got that. I thought only people from Tuscaloosa were watching.
Unfortunately, those are the ones that aren't watching.
Any other thoughts about the Habermas thing?
I just wish that you had more time, because I really liked some of Camille's questions. I just wish that those had gotten answered.
Yeah. I asked one of Camille's questions. I forget which one it was.
Yeah, there was the one.
Oh, the supernatural question.
There was one that I really liked of his that you didn't get to ask. I got blanking on it at the moment. But I thought it was as good as it could have been, basically. I hope you get to do it again, but I doubt it.
The thing is, like, I'll be very honest with you. I was not intimidated in the slightest, and that probably showed. And to be honest, I don't respect him, but I would not be mean to someone just because I don't. In order to get my respect, like, they have to earn it. It's not just granted, and so, like, I don't care too much if he's offended by what I say. And the thing is, the offense is on him as far as how he takes it.
Yeah. Do you think that he's deserving of respect? Like,
oh, probably in some things, sure. Like,
yeah, it just feels like his academic record, it just seems like, so it sounds like pseudoscience to me when he's like, oh, I've got all these people and I won't show you any of them. Well, that, to me, is just, that's...
Camille said the other day that his respect for him went up when he admitted that what he did with the first century mark thing was wrong, and he apologizes for his...
Yeah, but like, how much does it go up? I mean, to me, it's like, yeah, sure, you can admit that you're wrong, but like, you continue to push like huge amounts of misinformation.
Yeah, but to his, like, I'm going to defend him here, he didn't think it was misinformation at the time.
No, I mean about all these NDEs, about all his reports, about all his scholar stuff. None of these people are documented that he.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, this is just.
Well, he's an apologist, right?
Yeah, but at that point you're lying, and that's a sin.
I don't think he thinks he's lying.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably right. He doesn't think he's lying.
Like, he's George Costanza. If you truly believe it, it's not a lie.
Yeah, actually, I don't want to be too mean to him, but it seemed like there was some kind of senility going on, and I don't know.
Well, I think I flustered him a little bit because he's not used to a person saying, wait, no buts, stop. Like, and the thing is, I very carefully said, I'm not asking why you don't believe or believe. I'm asking, do you believe or don't you believe?
Yeah.
And so it was, and that combined with how I started the whole talk, like, the thing is, these apologists need to say, I am willing to walk in the trap and snap it shut because I have the truth and it doesn't matter. And they can't do that. They're so worried about how they're going to appear and look.
Like, because it's no longer about the arguments. It's about their appearance, right? They are the figure now that stands in front. They can't not be defensive because as soon as they expose themselves in the limelight, they need to be defensive. Otherwise, their entire reputation is on the line.
Yeah, and Brent Kaler is reminding me about the list of historians. I do not have Habermas's real address. I know I could probably get it through the Trinity website, but that's like his business address, really. Josh, if you're still here, I already asked you. Maybe you already sent it, but if you haven't, I need Habermas's email address because I want that list of people that meet the criteria of not being a Christian, getting a PhD in history, looking at the evidence for Christianity using the historical method, and then becoming a Christian primarily because of that. I want to see that list. And if Habermas does not produce that list for me after saying he would, that's sad.
Oh, I had one question for you. This is completely unrelated. It's I know you kind of like debates. You're kind of somewhere along here. Are you into the other debate realm, or is it mostly just like Christianity versus atheism for you?
Oh no, I like
all these
I like Islam.
Yeah, I just mean all the political debates and all the other stuff that goes on YouTube.
Well, I've talked a little politics here, but usually people don't like it because I lean right in their minds, and I don't just accept a lot of the things. Like, to me, the political thing is often framed as right and wrong. And the reason why I think people lean one way or another on various issues is because of what they value.
Yeah, I guess there's like a couple debaters, but one person I think of a lot when I think of you is a debater named Destiny. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, some of his debate styles remind me of you, and I feel like it would be interesting to hear a conversation between you, but also I just feel like he's someone that you would like.
I'm trying to remember. I don't even remember what he looks like.
Short guy with a beard and that's about it. Brown hair.
Yeah. What about him reminds you of me? Him of me.
He has some conservative tendencies, but he's very kind of I think that your political stances are very similar in that you're liberal on some things and conservative on more fiscal things, and just a lot of positions sound very similar, and your debate styles are very similar. But the fact that you don't know much about his style is interesting because it's almost like this convergent evolution, right?
That I don't know things about his style?
No, that you both are parallel.
Oh.
And kind of doing similar things. So it was just interesting. I was just curious, had you
yeah. I think a lot of the politics stuff you can predict based on age.
So a lot of his stuff isn't necessarily politics, but he's known for a lot of the politics.
Okay. But yeah, I like are you married?
No.
Do you have kids?
Nope.
Have you ever started your own business?
I would try to.
Yeah, you lean left.
Uh-huh.
Now, if you would answer those questions differently, I could just very confidently say you lean right. And it's almost that easy.
Right.
It's almost that easy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I just think that you would really enjoy some of those debates because they if you like the Christian and atheist debates, I think that they would kind of give you that oxytocin that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Dopamine.
The thing is, I am a guy who just, like, before this live stream, I was working hard doing my finance type stuff. To do debates and to do them well and like not just slough off, you got to spend, I don't know, if it's a 4-hour, 3-hour debate, you got to spend 30 hours in prep, at least 10 to 1.
Yeah, and he does, which is good.
Yeah. I'm not prepared to do that for no money.
Oh, no, I just thought you'd like to listen to them.
Oh! I thought you said you want me to debate him or something.
Oh, I thought it would be interesting, but really, I just thought that he'd be someone that you'd like to listen to.
Okay.
I was just trying to put him on your radar, basically.
Okay, yeah, but if I were to debate, I would want.
You'd get a topic, and it would be, I don't know that you would disagree on too much, so it would be, you'd have to figure out what your disagreement is.
I'm just trying to. Yeah, I would want $9,000 to do a 3-hour debate.
Okay.
So you can start to GoFundMe if you want.
Okay. Well, if you do get the 9,000, if anyone gives you a little bit more, I'm willing to debate for whatever the change is.
Because to me, to prep for something like that is not fun.
No.
But this is fun.
Yeah. Because
I can just basically vent and then apologize later. Anyhow, thanks for coming on, Sampback.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, you played poker with us once, right?
Yeah.
Don't want to do it again?
No, I might. It's just been busy on Wednesdays.
Okay. Because we had 2 new guys yesterday, and they both walked away with a lot more money than they started, so they were happy. Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah, we did a great job making them think that they actually earned it. I'm kidding.
No need to be salty.
Yeah. Take care.
Take care. Talk to you later.
Walter, come on in. You know you want to. PineCreek mingles with peers or no one, and since he has no peers, he mingles with no one. Do 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 do. You cut me deep. Destiny versus Daniel Muslim. Search it. I think I've seen that one, Brother Ben. PineCreek, did you send the email? No, the question is for Josh. Did he send me the email? I'll look right now. I do not have Habermas's email address. I could look it up, but my guess is it's not the same one as, let's say, the one that Josh has. It's probably his at trinity.org thing, which nobody... He probably has a Myron who does it, and... Yeah, I don't have anything from Josh. Just practice the art of sophistry, and you don't have to prepare. You know, Danny, you're probably right. I could probably do well in debates without any prep. just using rhetoric. Brent, you're going to be very upset with me if you watch this. So maybe you shouldn't. Walter, I need attention, so why don't you come on in? You know that feeling you have inside you right now, Walter, that you're like a little apprehensive, a little bit nervous, a little bit anxious when you hear me say your name? That's the Holy Spirit telling you to obey, to heed the call, to come in. Can you imagine the fame Walter would have if he converted PineCreek to Christianity? My wife doesn't want me to, little PP. What a name. Divorced with a... What does that mean, Charles B? Did you take positions on these sexual issues like Trent did when you were Christian? No, Jerome, I didn't. Got to remember, I was Protestant. He's Catholic. Catholics are a little more obsessed with coitus than Protestants. In fact, if you are a Catholic and you're thinking about IVF, my advice is become a Protestant. And then your guilt will be a little less, just a tad less. But if you came late, Jerome, I talked about that in the first part of the live stream. Or somewhere in the live stream. I've tried to get TikTok pastors on here. They're scared. Well, if I was a Christian pastor, I wouldn't want to talk to me. Did your wife listen to Habermas? No, Noah. I think she knows who Habermas is. I should ask her when she gets home. Really? Me and Destiny share the same audience? And I don't even know who he is? Really? Who's Destiny? Let me look him up. I only watch Apologia. If you're not a Mennonite, yeah. No, I'm kidding. Oh, he's live right now.
I think the only really sense of it competing is really...
Oh, yeah, okay. I'll ask him if he wants... Oh, it's subscribers only mode. Is there anybody here a subscribe... yeah, there's a time like... If anybody is a subscriber to Destiny's channel, tell him to hop on to PineCreek's channel while he's streaming. If you don't mind, do me a favor. Oh, this guy owes me money. Norwegian Islam. I hear you. Sort of.
Hello?
Hello, hi. I got the $10 I got the $10 you sent me, but did you said you were going to send me 50, right?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry that I did not send you more.
Okay. Are times tough or what?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, you shouldn't have promised me $50 if you can't afford it.
Yes, that's why I'm saying sorry.
Okay. You know what? As an atheist, I forgive you. And consider your $40 debt owed to me absolved. I pardon you.
Are you sure?
Yes, I pardon you. You no longer need to pay the debt.
Okay.
But just do me one favor. Just do me one favor and pass that favor on. The next time someone owes you 20, 30, $40, and if you so feel led, you say, because an atheist pardoned me, I too, as a good Muslim, will pardon you.
Yes. That sounds like a deal.
How did you feel about that time when you did that test and it didn't work? By the way, I'm using the Quran as holding up my mic.
That's very good. Yeah, can I be honest?
Yeah.
I mean, I felt a bit disappointed, yes.
You felt disappointed in Allah, or
In myself.
what?
Yeah,
What conclusions did you come? Like, did your lack of being able to find the Quran underneath the blanket 3 times in a row, did that cause you to say that maybe your reason to believe is a bad one?
Yes, and I think maybe I cheated. I think maybe I cheated in a way. I'm beginning to think I was a little biased in the test, and since I did not record it, I don't really have any proof, and therefore I don't really know if it was a good test or not.
But did you? Because afterwards, I rewatched it and I saw a lot of comments afterwards that the Quran, the one time you got it right,
Mm-hmm.
the Quran was peeking out from underneath the blanket.
Okay.
Did you see that?
No.
Okay. Because it's pretty obvious it was.
Okay.
And then you made the comment, do you agree that there's no way I could have known that? And I said yes, but I too was unaware that it was peaking. But to be honest with you, I questioned your integrity after I replayed the tape. But if you tell me honestly you did not see it, I will believe you.
No, I did not see it. I think it. I just don't think I like the test.
But you're the one who proposed it.
Yes, I'm saying that I don't like the results.
Oh, right.
I'm beginning. Yeah. I actually have a question.
Okay.
How would you think if I become an apostate?
What would I think if you became an apostate?
Yes.
I think that's a good thing because I believe Islam is false. And I think that it can be potentially dangerous, not all the time. And I think all the good stuff you get out of Islam, like hope, meaning, and purpose, can be easily replaced by things that do reflect reality. So if you can get all the good things out of Islam by not being a Muslim and remove all the bad stuff, all the baggage, all the hard to believe stuff, why not?
Since we talked, I have had extremely much doubt.
Okay. Well, that's fine. Like, doubt's a good thing.
And I believe that a religion that is not willing to look at itself is not a good religion. Or a faith that is not willing to investigate itself is not good religion.
Yeah, I agree. Like if a person can't or kind of shies away from tough questions and is not willing to read the arguments against one's position, yeah, that's bad.
Sorry, I don't mean to cry. It's just been a very tough weeks for me since the test, and I think I cheated the first time because I was biased. I think I wanted the test to go well.
When you say you cheated the first time, there's some viewers who would think that we're talking about when the book was
no.
Yeah, but you're talking about at home.
Yes.
Yeah. You think you cheated in the sense that you were biased and you kind of, I don't know, either saw the difference in heights or something, and
yes, because they were not all the same.
Why do you think you wanted it to be true?
I think I wanted to be true because I wanted it to be a god, because it would be much easier to maybe get
Well, you know what?
It's hard for me to explain.
Yeah, I understand, but let me try to help you, and I think you'll like this. don't give up your God belief. Keep it.
Why?
Because I think it will help you, at least in the short term. And I'm an atheist who says it could be true. I don't think it's falsifiable, but it could be true that a creator God exists. And so what it gives you is that answer to the question, why, who created the universe? And you can say God did, right? And you will still have questions about, okay, what's this God like and what's his will? And, those are tough questions to answer, but at least you'll have that. And so I'm giving you in war, when you're fighting on the battle lines, right now, that's what's happening to you. In your mind, you're in a battle of should I believe this or not? And I'm saying it's okay to pick up your gun and retreat a little bit. You don't have to retreat all the way and surrender, but just give yourself a time to retreat behind a bush and relax and catch your breath. And the way you can do that is still keep your God belief. And at the same time, you can say, I really doubt Islam is true. And then that's fine.
I think if the fundamentals of Islam goes away, God also goes away.
I think you're right. And that's what happened to me.
For me, yeah.
Yeah. Most people can't do it, though. I couldn't do it. When I left Christianity, I still had to keep that God belief for about 6 months. And it helped me relax and not be too fearful and not have everything destroyed. But you're exactly right. After 6 months, I realized, do I have any good reason to say I know a God exists? And I had to come to the conclusion, no. But you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
I just don't really understand how I convinced myself into believing this.
Well, I understand it because I've been there. I know exactly. I used to believe things that, you thought were false. I used to believe Jesus was God, and Muslims don't believe that's true. And I had to get rid of that belief. And I said to myself, how could I not have seen this? How could I have not seen that the Gospels had all these problems and that the evidence is not sufficient? Like, I would never believe a man flew across the Grand Canyon based on the same evidence. And yet here I am believing this stuff. What's wrong with me? But the way, the culture we're in, the way we were raised, oftentimes we think that we have this freedom, but really we're so much a product of our environment. It's scary, right?
It is very scary, and I think one of my biggest problems is that I feel like I'm scared. I'm scared of the consequences of not believing.
Like hell.
Yeah, like hell. Yes.
Yeah.
In one way, it is the fear of hell. It is also the fear of losing my community, or losing my friends, because a lot of people are friends with me because of my religion, not really friends with me because I am me.
Yeah, I understand. I lost most of my friends,
and that sucks.
But you know what? I gained new ones.
Yeah. I don't know really how do I say it? I don't really know how to rebuild, and I don't know if I'm willing to rebuild my relationship with God, because I'm starting to believe that He does not exist, and it pains me. It really does. It really does. I wish he was real, but I feel like he's drifting away from me in a way, or my mind. I really do.
What country are you in? Are you allowed to say that?
Norway.
Oh yeah, you're Norway. Go on the computer and on the internet and look up recovering from religion, and see if Norway has something like that. And even if it doesn't, you can talk to people through the internet in the US who specialize with people like you coming out of religion, and they will listen, they'll give advice if you ask for it, and I think you'll find some help there.
Thank you.
Yeah. And just breathe. Like, I know it's really tough now, but you're going to look back on this 5 years from now, and you're going to say, well, this was necessary and I grew from it. And that you're going to look back and say, hey, I'm okay. You know, even though I went through that hard time, I'm okay today. Are you married?
No.
Okay. See, you have it easier than what I had, because I was married and had kids. Can you imagine? My wife cried and cried and cried because she thought the man she loved is now going to hell. She still believes that. At least you don't have that. So you're way ahead of me and what I had to go through. Not to diminish what you're going through. I'm not saying that at all, but be thankful you don't have a wife and kids.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. There's nothing to be sorry for. This is real life, right? This is what we humans. Life here on planet Earth is hard, and you either have to rely on other humans to get through it, or a pet dog. Oh, you're Muslim. I should have said cat, right?
Yes.
Do you want to give your first name, or you still want me to call you Norwegian Islam?
You can call me Fro.
Fra?
Fro. F-R-O.
F-R-O. Fro.
Fro.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for the courage to come in and say what you said. I know that takes a big man to do that.
Yeah, and again, I apologize for not keeping my promise.
Yeah, then don't worry 1 second about that. I mean, like, my kids ate last week. They'll be fine. Yeah, no, you never have to pay me that $40. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
All the best to you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a nice day.
Yeah. And Fro, if you're still listening in, if there's Muslims who say things like you were never a Muslim to begin with and all that stuff, just ignore them. Just ignore them. Hey, Linguisti.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we needed you because I know you. You're a very soft-hearted, kind man, right?
Yeah, I'm not here to talk about religion this time. I'm more about destiny. Just if you want to know. Oh wait, I need to close down your stream. So if you want to contact Destiny, I just reached out to their mods, to his mods, and he says that they said that if you want to talk with them, you should either contact him directly via Discord or message somebody that
Knows him.
Destiny knows, like friends of Destiny on Twitter. I think that's one of the ways to reach out to him.
I've stopped Discord, so
I know you forgot your password. I remember that, but I mean, the thing with Destiny, he would probably want to have a specific topic with you to talk about. Usually, this guy is really about like self-development and stuff. So if he can learn something from you, maybe he would be willing to talk. But he's like a big streamer, so you probably would need a topic to talk with him. But I think he would probably be fine.
Well, I have no desire to talk to him really, other than.
Well, it might be a good thing for you, I think, because this guy he knows a lot of stuff. You might learn a couple of things from him too if you gonna teach him something he can teach you. But I think he streams like 8 hours a day or something. So
yeah,
I think
this is his job, right?
It's his job, but he's very hardworking. So he says he likes it, he loves it. So he streams like 8 or 10 hours a day or something. So it's probably when you're going to be streaming, he's going to be streaming too. So it's not going to be a timing issue, I think.
Maybe I should invite him to my poker night.
I doubt he's gonna. He's a gamer. He's playing games like.
Well, if he's a gamer, he'd play
24/7.
poker.
Well, different kind of gamer, okay, computer gamer, okay. So,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Well, it
Anyways.
sounds like he's successful with his YouTube channel, so he has money, and I just hope he's a bad poker player.
Well, I think he has too much money to care about poker. So, anyways, that's pretty much everything I want to talk about. So,
Okay, take care.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt Metro, for the donation. Yeah, it's one of those things like, it's really hard to start a relationship out of the blue. So there has to be some, what's the word? Natural, organic, that's the word. Organic impetus to start the relationship. Nick says he does play poker. Yeah, but for him, the stakes might be too low. And I noticed someone said that I could get in trouble by this poker thing, but we're not, there's no rake, there's no house collection. This is literally a family home game online by invitation only, low stakes. So I think it's all legit and above board. By the way, Doug, Destiny talks really fast. Oh, that's a pro. I like that. You should ditch finance and start counseling practice. No, Brent. That's not my strengths. Like, I think the advice I gave Fro was good, but I could not, it would de-energize me to talk with people for hours on issues like that. Whereas some people get energized from it. This is why I say we need each other. Like people who have the soft love, I have more of the hard love, although you wouldn't know it from the conversation with Fro. We need both. There's times where, like if Fro calls in and next week and he's still very sad, but maybe it's needed at time. Hey, stop it, Fro. Stop. Enough. Time to pull yourself together. Sort of like what's his name? That guy who was a TV show from Oprah. I think that's sometimes needed too. That guy needs an atheist community. Well, he just needs a community yeah. Walter, I'm still waiting for you. You said Christ is Lord. I'm curious why you believe that. Dr. Phil, that's him, yeah. Dr. Phil's the epitome of tough love. Some would say a charlatan. You aren't fooling anyone. We know you're a good guy. Stop it, Randy. Phil Donahue. Now he had a head of hair. Is he still alive? Talk about SC with Destiny? Maybe. Yeah, so many criticisms of SC just is rooted in fear. And that, this is just proselytizing atheism. My point is, okay, so what? Like Christians listening, if I told you that my goal with Norwegian Islam, this is not true, but if I were to say my goal was to get Norwegian Islam out of Islam, get Fro out of Islam, and become an atheist, well, you would say your first goal is good, get him out of Islam, but the second goal is bad. But if I think Islam is false, which I do, why would that be a bad goal? And aren't you doing the same with Christianity? You want to get people into Christianity because you believe it's true. So that whole thing about SC having these goals of making atheists, well, even if that's true 100% of the time, so what? Oh, you know what? Linguisty. I don't think I can turn on the clipping feature. It has not been applied to me yet. Probably because I don't have enough subs. Maybe I need 20,000 or 50,000. I don't know. What's wrong with evangelism atheists? Oh, that's my question. Yeah, Hillary. Yeah, what's wrong with it? Is Fro the second religious person you've deconverted? Darth Hor? You insult me. 2, you think? 2,000? But who's bragging? I'm kidding. It doesn't matter. I mean, do you think Gary was talking a lot on purpose to avoid your thought experiments? Endo, thanks for the donation. I think Gary Habermas, it's in his blood to just talk a lot. Some people are just that way. I think he's a teacher, he's been a teacher for a long time. He's just used to lecturing. Gary Habermas is not used to, I don't think, a student telling him to be quiet. No, I'm the teacher. You're the student. You shut up. Thanks for the donation, Zippy the Pinhead. I'm still willing to take a call from Christians. Why do I abuse animals for pleasure? Because I'm a speciesist. It's like a racist except for species. That's why. Oh, I love talking to vegans like that. Thanks for the donation, Corky. Corky's Flora. Can you make a video sometime for fundamentalists science they think they can write off, but they actually know nothing about? No, that's not my thing, really. Even though I have a science background, I'm more of a meta guy, and I think these issues are not the real reason they believe anyhow. Sometimes it is, but I just watched a great video from a female science person named Minchka something. Minch? What? And she was talking to Rebecca about the age of the Earth. I thought she did a really good job. I think if I would put my mind to it, I could do a better job because I could simplify it better. I think a lot of times people, they don't have the gift of being able to take something complex and making it very simple. Sean Carroll is a person who can do that. And that's why he's pretty popular. I know, I find it tough to say that word. Speciesist, speciesism. Like, if you show too much love for animals, like, next thing you know, you got cows drinking from our water fountains, wanting to go to our schools. Oh, I'm just sticking the knife in the vegans and turning it. Yeah, that's her name. Gutsick Gibbon. Yeah, she's pretty good. I know some vegans they don't get as triggered as others. I'm trying to trigger that one guy who made the comment. How do you say it? Is it speciesism? No, it's speciesist. Speciesism. Thanks for the donation, Jay Bundy. Gutsa Gibbon made that video. I'm sure she appreciates the shout out. Yeah, she did a great job. That video with Rebecca, if I was to critique her, she probably could have cut half of the stuff out that she talked about. Don't use any words more than 2 syllables. And when you're talking to Christians like Rebecca, as many visuals as you can make. of real life stuff. Like ice cores is perfect. Like a real ice core pulled out, if you can find a video pulled out on the spot and you can see the little layers, stuff like that are very powerful. Tree rings, very powerful. Once you start talking about radio dating and stuff, you'll lose many fundamentalist Christians. And really, all you have to do to a young earth creationist is demonstrate the world is older than 6,000 to 7,000 years old. That's all you have to do, and you're done. So you don't even have to go into radio dating at all. You just have to convince a Christian that there's trees out there older than 10,000 years old. And I guarantee you're done. They will start doubting. Same with ice cores. Just show an ice core with more than 10,000 lines. They're done. It might take a while. The cognitive dissonance will cause them to come up with another explanation why maybe there was 2 rings in 1 year. It was stuff. They'll do that for a while, but eventually they're going to have problems. So it has to be baby steps. Don't go to millions, billions of years. Just get over 10,000 years. Hi, Nick.
Hi, PineCreek. How are you doing today?
I'd say 9 out of 10.
Tremendous. So I just wanted to ask. So you said that you are a speciesist, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So that means that's your justification for eating animals and abusing animals?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you? Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I watch you all the time, but never had a chance to talk to you.
Okay.
So, do you agree that you abuse animals for pleasure?
No.
Oh.
Abuse them for food. Oh, actually, I would. I'm using your language because I know there's no way out of it. But yeah, I'm all for raping cows and murdering them.
Why?
So I can eat cheese.
But do you care the harm that goes into the animals? Like, let's
Not
say
that much.
if I were to provide for
No.
you a different way where there would be less. Sorry.
No, not that much.
Would you be? Are you just one of the people that vegans have to legislate over if that ever gets
Yep.
passed?
Yeah, they got to lock me up.
You're just like Destiny. Have you ever heard of that streamer?
Really?
Before?
Does he say
Oh
stuff
my
like
God.
this?
Oh my God! Yeah, I.
Oh,
love
now
him
I got to
too,
meet
though.
the guy.
Can I try to set you guys up together for an interview or conversation?
Does he seriously talk like I just did?
Oh my God, 100% of the time. Have you?
Because I honestly have never heard him before. But this is the
Oh
way
my
you.
God,
This
yeah.
is the way you talk to people like you. You say, "Lock me up." I dare you.
Well, I mean, I don't respect that you abuse animals for pleasure, but I respect all the work you do on YouTube. So.
Let me be sincere with you, and I ask of you all you say when I'm done. I'm going to just talk for 30 seconds or less. All you say is thank you for your time, and we'll end it friendly. Okay? Is that okay? I'm going to talk for 30 seconds. Then I'm asking you politely to just say thank you, and then we'll end it politely. Is that a good deal?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I don't view. I do think sometimes animals are abused, and I am against that. But I do think a lot of the time, especially in the United States today, that the death of a cow, for example, can be done in a painless way. And I do not view that as abuse. Since I am sincere about being a speciesist in the sense that animals, in my view, don't have a right to live. And so I don't view me eating meat the same way as, killing a human. So I am honestly a speciesist. I value humans more than animals, and I make no apology for it. I value them 1 billion times more than animals, and I don't make an apology for it. I have a pet dog. If it were to die, I probably would cry. But I tell you, I would cry 1 billion times more if my daughter or son died. So I'm just letting you know this is where I'm coming from on my value system. And yeah, that's about it. So I don't want to see animals suffer, just like you don't want to see animals suffer. But I tell you, like, I was raised on. This is more than 30 seconds. I apologize. I'm a Gary Habermas, but let me say this to wrap up. I was raised on a farm, okay, and my dad would ask me to go disc the fields. You know what that means?
You can just inform me in the audience.
Okay, a disc is like sort of like a plow, but it has plates like this that come in this way, and it's anywhere from 30 to 50 feet wide, and it basically cuts the ground up. So after you have a crop like wheat or whatever, you would disc the field afterwards, and you would grind up everything that's left and just destroy it. And I tell you, there's insects, worms, rodents, snakes.
Yeah, I understand, but like we would not have to cut up. Well, I know. Sorry, I broke our agreement.
I'm just saying that we
really
wouldn't
have to cut. We wouldn't have to do as much of this culling because we wouldn't have to feed all that extra plants for those animals. I think it takes around 16 kilograms of plant for like 1 kilogram of.
All that's irrelevant. To my point.
Extra.
All that's irrelevant to my point. My point is that whether you go vegan or not, you're killing animals.
It's about reducing harm, right? It's not about getting rid of all harm. And eventually we will have vertical farms where we don't have to do that outside. But
okay, but you agree with me that no matter if you're a vegan or a carnivore, you're killing animals. You agree with me?
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course.
Okay, and you're just saying we should kill less. Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Thanks for hopping on.
Thank you, PineCreek. I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm actually probably going to rewatch this 1 billion times and write a little notes on it and come back to you if that's okay.
You should maybe send a clip of what I said to Destiny, and he'd probably get a good laugh.
He probably would. Thank you, PineCreek. Have a great rest of your stream.
You too. Take care. What I said is true. I mean, if you could have the mind of God, omniscient, and see all the animals that die from a purely vegan crop, you have to tend to the soil. So, like, the suffering of a beetle, like, seriously, care about that? I mean, I know it sounds to a vegan sounds rude, but I don't care about the suffering of a beetle. Maybe that makes me evil. I don't even know if beetles can suffer. I shouldn't say I don't care much. No, I'm going to be honest. I care nothing. I am evil. But that's the way I've been genetically programmed to be. So if it is wrong, lock me up. Thank you for the donation of this world. If you care about humans more than animals, then how about not eating animals to curb climate change? It's been shown to be the major... Oh, my goodness. I am for climate change. I mean, I think it's real, and I think it's going to be a net benefit for the world. All that land that's only getting 1 crop a year, because it's going to be 3. All these pessimists in the world. Oh, does that sound like Destiny too? I wonder if he makes that argument. Here's an interesting thought experiment question. If climate change turned out to be a net benefit, would you switch from electric to gasoline engines? If what I said is true? Oh, that gets the gears grinding, doesn't it? But Doug, it's not a net benefit. We don't know that yet. People are dying. People dying all the time. Climate change will make Canada the next California. Yes, and I want Canada to be the next California. And California will be the next, what? Louisiana? The Bayou area? Destiny is an egoist utilitarian. You don't want to be like him. Oh, we got some Destiny haters. But I know people hate this topic, so maybe we should get off it. I can't stress this enough. Most of the planet have a negative attitude about vegans. And vegans, that's on you. You got to change. And to what's his name's credit, who's just in here, seems like a very nice guy, and that's a good first step. But I'll tell you the truth, and the truth hurts. Vegans are probably hated more than atheists. Am I right? Or am I speaking up my butt here? If you're an atheist and a vegan, I mean, nobody likes you. Except for other vegan atheists. Yeah, someplace in Canada does get very hot. But compared to where I live now, not really. Vegans are fine. Vegan moral process. Yeah, great point. Gorgeous Roddy Chrome. Oh, great name. Yeah, you're right. Vegans, there's no problem with vegans. In a lot of ways, I respect them. However, the vegan proselytization, whenever I hear a vegan say, you're raping cows, you know they're trying to conjure up some type of moral thing. Yeah, I just hear that's not going to work. Because guys like me we'll grant you whatever you want and say, doesn't make a dent. So tell you what, no, I won't say that. Nothing to get an atheist and a Christian together better than a vegan. Oh, does Walter like me now? Is that what's happening? Walter, are you saying, oh, I agree with atheists now? Maybe I misjudged PineCreek. Is that what's happening? Bread of Life says you foiled my stream again. Well, that's what I do. I find out when you're going to stream Bread of Life, and then I stream first. I've been on for too long. I'll get off soon, but I'm really sad that no Christians came on. Had one Muslim, Fro. You should watch that Bread of Life if you just got here. Fro came on, a nice Muslim gentleman. And yeah. Yeah, I agree, Sebastian Hunter or Honor, that as my self-ascribed speciesist, whatever, I value species differently. So a dolphin does have more value to me than a beetle. So if we did have to use chimps for our milk, that would make a difference, but we don't. Oh, we could actually. What are you drinking, Doug? Chimpanzee milk. That even sounds gross, right? Oftentimes, our moral intuitions on the foods we eat is based on how cute the animal is. Chimpanzees are not really that cute, though. Oh, I got two people at one time. I got a 2-for-1 deal.
Cool.
I didn't mean to do that, but anyhow, Chad, how are you doing? I know you.
Hey, good. I was actually Catholic for 9 years. I converted from evangelical Protestant to Catholic. I was Catholic for 9 years. And so I feel like I could weigh in on a little bit of the discussion from earlier.
Oh, yeah. So, Rebecca, to fill you in, because you just got here, right?
Well, yeah, but I saw the beginning of your stream because I was like, PineCreek is streaming and I'm supposed to stream in 1 hour. And I was hoping you were going to get finished. But I did watch the beginning of it. You're talking about your kids and how your kids were conceived through IVF and how the Catholics are basically wouldn't want your kids to exist.
Very quickly, are you for or against IVF?
I don't really take a strong position on that. I mean, I think it's kind of sad that, children are getting like put together in, a petri dish, and not all of them will make it. But obviously I'm glad that your kids made it, and I'm glad for the kids that are in the world because of IVF. And those kids wouldn't be in the world if it weren't for IVF in many cases. So,
see now, and unlike the Catholics, you would say that it's okay to have sex. Well, I don't know. Some Catholics would say that it's not okay to have sex purely for fun. But you wouldn't say that, right? Or would you?
I wouldn't say that. No.
Okay. But Chad, am I right that there's at least some Catholics who would say that?
Yeah, the very, very traditional ones would say you can have it for fun, but you can't have it just for fun. So if you eliminate the natural processes or put a barrier there or stop it somehow on purpose, then you can't have sex just for fun.
So how do they view hysterectomies? Like, let's say you don't have to get a hysterectomy, but a woman chooses to. Would they view that as a sin?
I believe so. Yeah. If you get it just for no medical reason whatsoever. Yeah.
Wow.
Or vasectomies.
What's your stance on contraception, Rebecca? Is there any contraception that you would view as a sin?
I'm not comfortable telling other people whether or not they should use contraception, but I will say that my view changed on it for my personal life a few years ago. So me and my husband prevented children for many years, and we feel like about 5 years ago he told us not to stop doing that. So for us personally, I don't tell anybody else what they should do with regard to that.
That's interesting. So you felt that God told you it's okay to use contraception?
No, the opposite.
Oh, the opposite.
Not that he told me it wasn't okay. I don't think he told me that strongly. We just realized that we made a huge mistake. It's probably my biggest regret in life that we prevented children from coming into the world.
Well, Kate, how many kids do you have now?
2.
And so you would have been okay just pumping out babies for 10 years?
Well, that's the thing is, of course, that didn't sound like fun to me for many of those years. We kind of had the attitude of we have enough chaos with 2 kids. We don't need any more chaos. So that was our attitude. And now we kind of look back on that with regret.
Really? Well, how can you look at, what if you were right? That would have been chaos. And let's say by having, 10 kids instead of 2, it would have put financial stress on your marriage. And financial stress is one of the biggest causes of divorce. You could, there's a high probability, or not a high, but there is a good probability that could have happened. And by only having 2 kids, it helped not it to happen.
I hope that's right. I really do. I hope that's right.
Do you feel sorry for women who have 10 kids?
No,
in
not
10
at all.
In 12 years?
I respect that so much. I have so much respect for women who, give so much of themselves and so no, I don't feel sorry for them. I respect them.
Chad, you're fine. You don't have to leave. I saw your comment. You're good.
What did Chad say?
Oh, he didn't mean to let me in.
No, I didn't mean to let Rebecca in.
Really?
No, I'm kidding. You're both welcome. That's fine. I asked some questions about Catholicism in the live stream, but I forget what they were. Like, how would she?
I remember someone brought up, did Mary consent? And actually Catholics have fairly sophisticated theology around that. And they really do believe she consented from the verse, let it be done unto me according to thy word, where she responds to the angel Gabriel. That's her consent.
Okay.
And there's actually songs about it and everything and theology.
Well, hang on. Which verse is that?
Luke 1:28, I think. I just looked it up, but. And in fact, I quote it in Latin all the time. Fiat mihi voluntas tua.
That's not in that verse. Are you sure that's the right verse? Because what you just said, I kind of glossed over it, but then I thought, wait a minute, I don't buy that. Because Luke 1:28, is that what you said? The angel went to her and said, "Greetings, you who are highly favored, the Lord is with you." There's no consent from Mary there.
It's verse 38.
Right after that. Oh, okay, 38.
38.
Okay. Oh, hang on.
Yep.
Let's see.
Behold, I am the handmaiden. Yeah, you got it.
I am the Lord's servant, Mary answered. May your word to me be fulfilled. Okay. But what was the word that you will conceive?
Yeah, so in fact, depending on the Catholic, they take like Mary takes a very active role in the salvation of mankind. So she accepts the offer of...
Does Matthew's gospel have something similar?
Yeah.
I wonder.
One of the other ones does. I don't remember.
Yeah, there's only 2 birth stories in the Bible, and
that's
Matthew's the other one. So that since this is only mentioned once, using the historical method, we should not believe it or lower our confidence. So you Catholics, if this is your excuse of saying it wasn't forced upon her, you lower your confidence on that. But yeah, that doesn't get by the other problem of their main argument was in vitro is bad because God wants all reproduction to occur through the natural marital act.
Yep.
But this is not a natural marital act that happened to Mary. So they have to special plead and say, except for Jesus. Right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's even weird theories about like some people say the birth of Jesus didn't actually physically affect Mary. I don't want to get too clinical, but like that Jesus passed through Mary like water through a sieve.
Oh, it just slid right out there.
Yeah.
Because Jesus doesn't cause pain, right?
Right. And Mary is not subject to birth pains because she was immaculately conceived. So Mary was without sin in Catholic theology.
Where does that come from, that Mary's without sin? Where's that in the Bible?
It's not. I mean, there's some Old Testament allusions to it, but it's mostly from just like tradition and church fathers and
just people making stuff up. Yeah, I can see the logic in it. Well, if Jesus has... No, I can't really see the logic in it. I understand what they say.
Most Catholics don't believe any of this stuff either. I mean, the average person in the pews, you know, they have IVF, they practice contraception. It's like these conservative Catholics like Trent Horn, and that's what I was too. I was a convert to Catholicism, so I accepted it all wholesale. And, you know, even if you don't really think it's wrong, you still believe and defend it as if it's wrong, or, you know, these teachings or these sins. And
for the people who do think it's wrong, what do they think is going to happen to them if they do it anyway?
If they do it with full knowledge that it's wrong and they don't confess or have any remorse, then that's a mortal sin. And if you die with that on your conscience, then you go to hell. Yeah.
Seriously. Okay. Mm-hmm. A loving couple.
But if you confess it, all is well?
If you confess it, he is faithful and just to forgive you. Yes.
Yeah, but the thing is, you know,
God, you have to actually be contrite. I mean,
yeah, God knows the heart. Yeah. But the thing is, if you got a couple who's been trying for years and years to have a baby and they can't, and then they choose the IVF, and everything in their being and soul says, we don't regret this, we would do it again. The Catholic teaching is that if they don't repent of that, they're going to hell, the conservative Catholic teaching?
Basically, yeah. I mean, you know, there may be something about their moral formation or something where, you know, there's a get out of jail card because they're, you know, they're ignorant of the fact that it's really wrong, and the strong emotion of it means that they're not fully culpable. And so no individual Catholic is going to say, oh, they're definitely going to hell. We don't know infallibly who's going to hell. But they would definitely be, you know, at risk of that. It would be a high possibility.
Yeah. So when I gave the advice, just do the opposite what the Catholic Church says or what Trent Horn says, they would say, "Oh man, well, I don't want to go to hell." I mean, shut up, Doug. There's too much at stake. Man,
I mean,
use of fear.
Yeah, if you're a married Catholic and you're trying to follow the church's teachings, you cannot. I gave this example in the chat earlier. You cannot receive a friendly hand job from your wife. Like you can't do that to completion in Catholic theology.
Really? Oh yeah, spilling of the seed.
And
right?
that would be, you can't spill your seed on purpose. That would be an intentional mortal sin. So, I mean, there would be times when I was like, having fun with my wife, and it would be like, we got to stop.
But there's some guys who can't even climax through intercourse. There's few, but like poor guys. They're basically saying you can't have an orgasm. Ooh. Can you imagine the frustration? Maybe we're describing Habermas. That explains it. Oh. Hey, Rebecca, I saw you with that young woman who's teaching you about the age of the Earth.
Oh, you saw me with Erica?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched that too.
Yeah, I was surprised at some of the questions you asked her. Like you went into things that I thought were kind of irrelevant. Like the tree rings alone, doesn't that put the age of the Earth more than 6,000 years?
Well, I would say if that data is correct, then probably so.
Okay, if that data is correct, you're no longer a young Earth creationist, correct?
Well,
if that data is correct, you'd no longer be a young Earth creationist because
yes,
because the age of the Earth would be bigger than.
Well, I would say there's conflicting data, so I would be uncomfortable just taking one data point and making, because there's data that contradicts it. So if the tree ring data is true, but then we also have.
Well, wait a minute. No.
Yeah.
If you and I went into some old forest and you and I cut down a tree and we started counting and we spent all day counting and we got a number bigger than 6,000 tree rings, what would you say to me? You're saying that, well, this is not possible? We miscounted and we'll count again and we get the same number. Are you saying that, like, what would your excuse be at that point?
Well, I mean, that would be assuming that we completely know that each one of those rings does correspond to a year.
Okay, would we have any reason to not think that?
I don't know. And that's the point. I thought Erica gave a great presentation. And like, if everything she said there is correct, then I may have to rethink, my worldview, right?
She should have ended with an altar call, I think.
But
to older.
Okay, what's interesting, if everything she said was correct, you would have to change your worldview. What if 90% of what she said was correct? Would you have to change your worldview?
Well, it really depends on, how can it be? Like,
no, because she could have made an error, and you could be right that some things would be wrong. Let's say the tree rings. Let's say you can get 2 tree rings in 1 year, let's say, or something. I propose to you, if only 10% of what she said is correct, you're out of young Earth creation.
If only 10%?
Yes. Because
okay.
if let's say 10% of what she said is correct, but that 10% says that the Earth is more than 10,000 years old, you have to now be out. So there's a pretty high standard there that you, I think, are compelled to say, if you want to stay a young Earth creationist, you're almost compelled to say that everything she said is wrong.
Yeah. Well, even before I talked to her, that talk was not supposed to be about young Earth creationism. In fact, I said, I want to grant you the age of the Earth for the purpose of our conversation, because I realize that I cannot prove young Earth creationism. Like, I would have to become an expert in quite a few fields of science before I could legitimately say, offer convincing evidence for young Earth creation. So
why don't you just trust the experts?
Well, which ones should I listen to?
Let's start with, let's say, the ones who have PhDs in relevant fields
Okay.
and actually work with this stuff, like are actively dating things, not just teaching or on whatever, but actually
Yeah.
doing the work. Who are accredited with some national science organization that they've gained respect over the years, done peer-reviewed research. Why don't we start with those people? And then if we have disagreements, then we can then listen to both sides. But I think that would be a good start.
Now, do you think people with PhDs have ever been wrong about anything?
No, never.
Well, I think that's a problem.
Yeah, I'm being facetious, of course. But like, for example, I think there was some type of website that did a tabulation that like something like 98% of geologists and chemists and physicists, whatever, say the Earth is old.
Right.
So we're like, you're giving that 2% some hefty weight, right?
Yes.
Why?
Well,
especially if there's nothing on the line. It's no big deal if the Earth is billions of years old, is it?
well, I would say there's a couple, like for the Earth to be billions of years old, no, I have actually no problem with that.
Okay.
But I do have a problem with animals living and dying for millions of years prior to Adam and Eve.
Why is that?
So, well, because I don't think that's the way it happened. I believe the Bible story.
Okay, so
God
you're saying
created.
that if animals lived and died before humans, the Bible's wrong?
I'm saying it creates quite a theological conundrum, and many Christians are okay with that. Like they work it out. They find ways to resolve it. I think it's a little bit more of a problem than.
But you could do remember that email you sent me and you asked me those 3 questions?
Right.
And I answered, I'd probably be this type of Christian.
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't you just be with those types of Christians who accept the old age of the earth and evolution and you're done?
And I'm going to give you the same answer you gave me because I'm not convinced by their evidence.
I didn't say that.
Right? Yes, you did. You said, I'm not convinced of Jesus Christ. I'm not convinced of the story, right?
Yeah, that's true. I'm not
So-
convinced. But the thing is, we were talking about what could convince me in that water-soaked napkin. So that's the
Right.
evidence, right? And so if I did have that
Okay.
evidence, I would change my mind. And then I would be that type of Christian, right? That was talking about Pete Enns.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying you have the evidence. You have the water-soaked napkin. It was
Mhm.
presented to you by, what's her name, Chad?
Erica.
Erica. It was presented
Mhm.
to you. And I'm proposing that even if what she said was 10% correct, you have to be out. And you could still be like a Pete Enns or a Inspiring Philosophy type Christian or a, I don't know. Most Roman Catholics accept the old age of the earth.
Yeah. Well, I think the issue is I'm more of a skeptical person than you are, PineCreek.
No, you're
Because
not.
I'm not willing
You take
to
that
accept
back.
this one person to and I'll say this. I think your water-soaked napkin is too low of a standard.
Oh,
Like,
you're
I wouldn't
saying
believe-
that just to bother
if
me.
if I had like, okay, if some Muslim told me I'm gonna pray and this napkin is gonna set on fire, water-soaked napkin is gonna set on fire. If it set on fire in front of me, I wouldn't instantly become a Muslim.
So you're skeptical.
I think your standard is too low.
Well, I'm just following in the paths of Elijah. Give me a break. It's good enough for Elijah. Why isn't it good enough for PineCreek?
Elijah already believed before.
No, but the people
fire came down.
around him didn't. They thought Baal was the right one. And then Elijah watered down all that wood, called upon Yahweh to light on fire. He did. And then Yahweh taunted the other guys. Where's your God? Is your God sleeping?
And the priests of Baal were like, well, the philosophical reasons Baal is not showing up.
Are you as skeptical?
X, Y, and Z.
Are you as skeptical about the age of the earth science as you are some things in the Bible?
Well, be specific.
Well, for example, the verses that talk about animals maybe dying only dying after Adam and Eve sinned. That's what you were getting at before, right? That there was no
Yeah.
death before the fall.
Right.
Maybe you should be skeptical about that literally happened in history.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I'm fine with Christians who have a different understanding and who work that out. Maybe I should be skeptical. You know, I mean, I've considered the options, and I'm working with like the best that I can come up with, like the best what I think is true.
Yeah, and I really don't see any huge things at stake for you. Like, you could let go of young Earth creations right now, and I tell you, your life wouldn't change. You'll be fine, and I think you'd be even better because you wouldn't have to wrestle with this evidence that Erica's presented with you. You don't have to say things like, well, maybe 98% of scientists are wrong, or maybe, you know, the radiometric decay is inconsistent over time. You don't have to say stuff like that. All you have to say is, yeah, we've got good reason to believe the Earth is really, really, really old, and it doesn't affect my theology at all. And
yeah. Now, I would say one thing would help, like if I abandoned young Earth creationism, I would be a lot more credible. Like, people a lot of times don't take me seriously because of the young Earth creationism, right? Like you instantly, you lose credibility.
You're a flat
when
earther.
Someone like me.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm equivalent to a flat earther for most people. And that really annoys me. Like, I don't like that. I don't like losing credibility, but I can't change my belief based on other people thinking I'm foolish.
I agree.
Right?
I agree. But you know, here's a little secret. Part of me wishes the flat earthers were correct. Wouldn't that be hilarious? I mean, that would blow my mind, and it would be so, I would laugh for days. I mean, like, but they're wrong. But anyhow.
What about the young earthers? Do you wish the young earthers were correct? Would that
You know
be
what? That's a great
hilarious?
question. If the Earth is only 6,000 years old, and people who are young earthers also have a different type of cosmology, not all of them, but like, for example,
you could go back in time and ride dinosaurs. That would be cool.
Yeah. If the young earthers is correct and the Earth is only 6,000 years, I mean, literally, not that God deceived people into thinking it's 6,000 years old, that it literally is only 6,000 years old. My inclination towards theism would go up. This is
what would
and I think young Earth creationists love to hear me say that, and they would agree with me in my reasoning that because it makes everything a little more special, right? It's not like to conceive of a creator God spending 4.6 billion years to create you, Rebecca, seems really bizarre. Like, if you really desired to create human life, why go through this laborious process of evolution in 4.6 billion years when he could have just said, I'm creating Earth and people, right? I get, so the converse also has to be true then if I want to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Yeah, and look, I'm there with you. And in fact, I think to even conceive of millions of years, billions of years, that's just, I mean, it sounds ridiculous to me. So, but
that's interesting.
Hey, if I could believe that, then I would get to hang out with the smart Christians and be cool with them. But you know, I don't get that coolness because I don't, you know.
But that comment you just made, you can't conceive a billion years old,
right?
Can you conceive of, let's say, a
eternity?
No, a pollution particulate that's one billionth, like, or parts per million, parts per billion. Can you conceive that? Like, do you have any problem with that? Like, on the small side?
I mean, it's hard to understand how we can measure that, but I mean,
or like an atom is like a picometer, or 10 to the -9, -12 meters. Like, is that hard for you to imagine as well?
That's pretty hard to imagine also. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I mean, even the number of atoms in our body, but I mean, it is hard to conceive of, but I would say it's slightly different to try to imagine the Earth existing that long and for life existing for that long. And so, yeah. I don't know.
The thing is, but what I said earlier, all we need to do is get you to, we want to try to force you to believe that the earth is more than 10,000 years old so we can feel good about ourselves. So like carbon-14 dating
Yes.
is incredibly simple, and it's sure it doesn't work in all situations, but that gets you over 10,000 years easily, because the half-life is 5,000 years, and just all you need is 2 half-lives. And I mean,
yeah,
unless you want,
if it's correct, if the rates have always been the same, then it probably would put us at that point if the decay rate.
But you know what?
Rebecca, have you looked?
Oh, go ahead, Chad.
Have you looked into whether the Bible teaches that the earth is immovable and the sun rotates around, and like kind of the biblical cosmology? And
well, I would say like a lot of that stuff I think is more metaphorical, just like we say the sun rises and sets. Well, that is how we perceive it. We perceive that the earth is immovable. So I don't really look into trying to make an over literal approach on that.
Okay. Because like when I was Catholic, there was, really extreme conservative Catholics that believed in geocentrism and believed that the Bible taught it, scripture taught it, tradition taught it, the church had taught it in the Middle Ages, and they were committed to it for those reasons. And I was just wondering if someone could prove to you that the Bible taught that, or it was essential to Christianity that, the earth was immovable, would that change your view of, is it analogous to creationism or young earth creationism?
I don't think so. I think that would be an over literal approach. But I guess when I read the story of creation, I see how you could have the earth sitting there for billions of years before God starts creating life. So like in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Then there could have been a long period of time before God started creating life. But it does appear that God created life in its forms. I don't think, and in general, I mean, I don't see how there's room for like, people eventually emerging out of a pond.
What about
development, evolutionary development over billions of years? I don't see how you can fit that in the Bible. Rob will be really mad at me for saying that. Sorry, Rob. I like the way Rob says it.
I agree with you, Rebecca.
He makes it sounds really good, but I still just don't think it's.
I agree with you.
What about within the creation story where God like separates the waters above and the waters below?
Yeah.
So that's literally part of the creation story, right?
Right.
If you found out that the ancients believed that there really was a canopy of water above and it reflected the water below, like when it's dark above, the water in the lake is dark, and so they're both water. And if you understood that if you believed that they thought that and wrote it down as part of the literal, creation, would that be something they got wrong, or was that?
I would say there's the possibility they could be wrong. I mean, there's always the possibility for humans misinterpreting something that is written. And I mean, we're misinterpreting things all the time. So it wouldn't surprise me if they misinterpreted it back then. But it
would
also
you put that in
wouldn't
the
surprise
literal
me.
bucket or the figurative bucket of like
the water
center of the
above and the waters below? I mean, I put that in the literal bucket. I don't understand what that means. I don't understand waters above from waters below. It could just be the clouds. I mean, those are waters above, right? I mean, those are waters above us. So, I mean, but I'm not like desperate to come up with the answer for that.
Adam and Eve?
What about them?
Eve coming from the rib of Adam, literal or figurative?
I'd say that's literal.
Okay. Why is it hard for you to believe about the pond scum thing, evolution, but you can believe dust, clay, man, rib, woman? That doesn't sound weird to you?
Yeah, because one is a supernatural event and one proposes to be a natural event. And that natural event that is proposed kind of goes in opposition to our scientific observations. So, like, why would I believe the evolutionary story that seems to need a lot of miracles to sustain it?
What?
But
Well, I mean,
what?
no, I mean,
Okay.
yes, there was a lot of miracles throughout evolution, but God did it. Well, you're saying God can't work through evolution?
I'm saying when I read the Bible, it doesn't look like God worked through evolution.
The Bible's not
I'm
meant to
saying
be
he
a
can't.
science
God
book.
can do whatever he wants. God can do whatever he wants. Yeah, and that's why I'm okay with Christians who say God worked through evolution. Evolution needs miracles. God worked through evolution. Okay, if that's how they've interpreted Genesis, I'm fine with that. I don't want to argue with Christians about that. For me personally, that explanation doesn't really fly. And, maybe if I had overwhelming scientific evidence that evolution was true, I
Like
would
what?
somehow reform my belief about
What
that.
would it take for you personally? Like, let's say we start a GoFundMe account and we hire a
Right.
private plane, private jet to pick you up wherever you live, and we spend the next month. Tell me what exactly you would say. So you would be guaranteed to say, I'm out of young earth creationism. What would you need to see?
I'd probably have to make a list.
Can you think of one?
But, well, I would need to know that radiometric dating is accurate.
And what would it take for you to be convinced that radiometric dating is accurate?
Probably seeing data on rocks of known ages that show accurate dates, with the labs having no knowledge of the rocks of those ages prior to dating them.
Okay, but would you have to be there in the lab when it's done, or are you okay trusting the scientists to do it?
I don't think I would have to be in the lab, but I would have to know the process by which the rocks were brought there, and I would have to be assured that there was no funny business going on, where the rocks were the age of the rocks were actually revealed to the researchers.
Well, this is good, because do you trust the Christian historians who say that the Dead Sea Scrolls were written about 200 years before Christ, 2,200 years ago? Do you trust those historians, Christian historians?
Well, I'd say even they're using carbon dating, and they, even in the books that I've read about that, they admit that there's they can't be sure with regard to the carbon dating.
So you're willing to throw out the dating of, when do you think the Dead Sea Scrolls were written?
Well, I mean, I believe the standard thing, but I don't care about it. It wouldn't change anything for me if I suddenly discovered, the Dead Sea Scrolls, actually, they're only 1,000 years old. That really wouldn't change anything for me. So it's kind of I wouldn't call that
Really?
a
That would be
strong belief
huge.
that I hold.
That would be a big problem for a lot of Christian historians if it turned out that the Dead Sea Scrolls were written in 1000 AD versus 200 BC. I mean, the whole Old Testament would now be in question.
Well, would it though? I mean, just because the manuscripts aren't that old?
Yeah, well, there would be the idea that maybe the Old Testament is not nearly as old as we think.
Well, but you have Christian writers quoting from the Old Testament, in the first century. So,
okay,
I mean,
there we go. We got New Testament authors quoting the Old Testament, and we know, and you're quite confident that happened 2,000 years ago. So if they're quoting something that's found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, then we have a hard date. We can say, yes, it's true that the Dead Sea Scrolls were written prior to Jesus, right?
No, because just because they were quoting something doesn't mean those particular manuscripts were there.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, let's say let's take the Dead Sea Scrolls out of it. Let's say it's a Old Testament piece of paper. Okay? Mm-hmm. So we know it has to be older than 2,000 years old because they're quoting from it. Agreed?
Okay, wait. An Old Testament piece of paper?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you mean? A manuscript?
Yeah, a manuscript.
That we know is
just
of a known age.
Yeah. Yeah. That you know is older than Jesus.
Okay.
A fragment, just like we date, let's say, the fragment of John.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we know it's older than 2,000 years old. And then we take it to a lab and we radiocarbon date it. And it gives us an answer that it's over 2,000 years old and let's say, but younger than 2,500 years old, in that range.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that pretty good evidence to say, oh, it's fairly good. It's fairly accurate.
Yeah, but I would say they don't go on radiocarbon dating alone. I mean, they also have...
That's not the question. The question is that one method seems to work in that one case. Yes?
I would still call that into question. I don't think I would trust like just a radiocarbon date for a document.
No, but I'm saying we know the date of the document based on referring to from the New Testament to the Old. So we already have the standard. We have the flat. We know what it is.
Okay.
And we're just saying, okay, we don't believe this test, but let's see if it comes up with the same answer.
Okay.
And it does.
Yeah.
Would you just say that's a fluke?
I would say that's cool. That's evidence in support.
Okay, so let's say if that's evidence in support for the case of this fragment, why wouldn't you say it's evidence of support of, let's say, a tree that's maybe twice as old?
Okay.
Okay, so now we got evidence that the tree is 4,000 years old. And now we find something else that has carbon in it, and it says it's 20,000 years old. You still have confidence and support that it's 20,000 years old? 20,000 years old?
No, because now you have conflicting data. You said we have evidence that it's 4,000 years
old. No, I'm saying something else.
There's...
Something else. We find something else with carbon in it.
Okay.
And it says it's 20,000 years old. So you're willing to say it supports the 2,000 years old, the 4,000 years old, but for some reason it stops working at 20,000? Is that what you're going to say?
But you started with you started with 2 points, okay? You said 2,000 years old. We know this document is 2,000 years old by other means.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And then we radiocarboned it and it was 2,000 years old, just like we expected.
Yep.
Okay, so then in that case, we have corroborating evidence.
Right.
But now you're saying, but this tree, we know it's 4,000 years old.
No, we don't know it's 4,000, but we're saying that since we standardized it, we calibrated it to something we do know, it's like a ruler. So let's say you know you're 5 foot. How tall are you? 5'5"?
5'3".
Okay, so let's say we know you're 5'3", and you are convinced you're 5'3", and there's no doubt in your mind you're 5'3". I get measuring tape, and I measure you from head to toe, and it says you're 5'3". And then I take that measuring tape and use it on Chad. Let's see if I can guess your height. 6 feet.
5'10".
5'10". Okay, we use the same measuring tape on Chad, and it says 5'10". Are you going to doubt that measuring tape?
Probably not.
Yeah, because we calibrated it with your height. Now it might be an error the taller it gets, but if we were to measure, someone close to your height, we're pretty confident that it's a good measuring tape. That's all we're doing with the radiocarbon dating.
Mm.
So we calibrated it to something that you're confident's true on the date.
Yeah.
And we're just saying, oh, okay, then this is 4,000, this is 10,000, this is 20,000. But I think in order for you to stay a young Earth creationist, you have to say something like, well, no, it goes awry after certain times, right? Even though you have no reason to think so, you have to you're committed to that.
Yeah. Well, now let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If we took dinosaur bones and they radiocarboned and came back with thousands of years date, would you stop believing that dinosaurs lived millions of years ago?
Yes.
Okay. So I believe that we've done that.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I interviewed that lady. What's her name?
Mary Schweitzer.
I have a video where I interviewed her.
Yeah.
And if she were here, she would be almost swearing at you.
Oh, I know.
Because she was so mad at how she was misrepresented.
But no, but if you watch her lectures that she was giving after these discoveries, she was saying things like, I was terrified to announce my results to the scientific community, right? She was terrified of her results because she knew it contradicted the standard.
No, she knew young Earth creationists would misuse it. That's why she was terrified.
But
you should watch the video where I interviewed her. She loves Jesus desperately. I'm serious. She loves Jesus, and
I believe that.
But she just,
yeah,
she loves truth, and she's going, well, why can't these other Christians see the truth?
But should we assume that her findings actually confirm that dinosaurs lived millions of years ago, or should we actually begin to question the model based on her findings? Just because she's not willing to question the model doesn't mean the model should not be questioned.
Oh, we can always question it. We can question anything. But the thing is, when you keep getting consistent results over, as Erica did with you, with like, what did she use? 5 to 10 different ways. And if they all converge to the same answer, and these people are not colluding, some live in Europe, some live in America, some live in China, like,
yeah.
And some are atheists and some are Christian and some are Muslim. And it's like, we got different cultures, different biases, all in different areas of science, all converging to the same answer.
Yeah.
And all different methods too of dating.
Yeah, different methods.
Some of them overlap and some of them don't overlap, and they all. Yeah.
Guys, look, I admit Erica gave a great presentation, but I'm a skeptical person, and I need more than a flaming napkin. I need more than what was presented. Okay, so I mean, there is more work to be done. I'm not saying I couldn't be swayed.
What would you need to know? What kind of evidence would you need to know that Jesus rose from the dead?
I don't need evidence for that.
See, isn't that interesting? You're just admitting you're not skeptical about that.
No, I'm not. And I mean, like, that's why I said I don't care about proving that. That is something I believe. And if people don't believe it, that's fine. I mean, I don't care about convincing anybody.
Rebecca, you were in the friend zone, and now you're back in the fun zone. And if we go any longer, you might move up to the danger zone. So I think we should end it here.
How would I get to the danger zone? What would I do to get to the danger zone?
Well, you remember the graph? Your neediness has to go up. So, but right now you're in the fun zone. We're having fun, but sorry to say you moved left.
All right, that's okay.
But there's hope. You can move back right. There's hope for you.
What would I have to do to move back right?
You need to denounce your satanic young Earth creationist ways.
See, I told you this young Earth creationism just gets me in trouble.
I'm
look
kidding.
like such a fool.
To be honest, I don't care that much. I mean, I think you're 100% wrong, and I think you're just using the Bible. You're trusting the Bible more than science, and I think that's wrong. I think that's bad. I think you have a predisposition just to believe what the Bible says because of so many personal experiences you had. And I think Muslims do the same thing, and Mormons and Taoists and Hindus, and it's all defeating garbage. That's the truth.
Yeah.
And I know the truth because Satan told me. But anyhow, I got to run.
All right.
Take care, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
I know the truth because Satan told me. Yeah, that's a good line to tell a Christian. Oh my goodness. I got an angel here. See the angel glowing? So if you came late, talked about coitus and Reginas, in vitro fertilization. What else did we talk about? Oh, the Norwegian Muslim Fro came in. Watch that if you missed it. That was really good. I was just like Jesus there and forgave a debt. I was the penal substitution atoner. I am just like Jesus. So, since I'm just like Jesus, I need you to turn off your brain, take up your cross, and follow me. Send me an email about Destiny? Okay, I'll look at it. I kind of like Destiny now that I hear that he has the same responses to veganism as me. Am I going to grow my mustache back and become a man again? You know, my wife doesn't like the mustache. Happy birthday to the one person who has a birthday today. It's bound to be one. If we have over 350 viewers. Walter, did you want to come in? You got 60 seconds, 30 seconds to say yes. My apologies to Walter. He was scheduled to come on and lead me to Christ, but we ran out of time.